we move on to the quote-unquote fun part of tonight's show. Oh, where we watched Hunter Avallone, who's not as big a prick as he always was. Just put it that way. Talking to Lauren Southern. Now, in many respects, there is a connection here to the Israel-Palestine conflict, in that just like Israel, Lauren Southern is an ethno-nationalist. Or sorry, just like the Zionists, Lauren Southern is an ethno-nationalist who's pretending not to be an ethno-nationalist, but actually secretly really, really wants to kill brown people. Yeah. Anyway, they're going to talk about stuff. I haven't seen this, so I don't know. I heard it was a little spicy, but we'll see.
Yeah, no worries. Testing, testing, one, two, three. And am I on video or not on video?
You're not on video. I wasn't going to put you
Okay,
on video.
that's all right.
Yeah.
Just checking. Got to do a hair check if that's the case.
No, I understand. I mean, I'm on.
Missed opportunity from Avallone. If the hot tub streamers have shown us anything, tits on camera is always good. Good for the numbers, my friend. Missed out on a trick.
Video on my end, obviously, but yeah, it's just voice here. How are you? Thanks so much for coming on. You know, I've been trying to get you on here for a while, so I'm glad that we're
Destiny's talking to Lauren Southern. Wow. I mean, they could probably get together and sort of jerk each other off about how much they love Carl Rittenhouse, I imagine. Yeah. Super based.
to finally have this chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Definitely hard to schedule things once you're a mom or a parent.
Oh, I understand. I have two kids of my own, so it can be very, very hectic
Fucking
and hard to do.
disgusting breed
So I
of
Oh,
understand.
how old are they?
I have my older daughter Rose, who is over 2, and then my little boy William.
These fucking disgusting heterosexual degenerates. Ugh. Jesus.
Is about to turn 1 actually on Monday.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Congratulations. Oh my gosh, that would be hectic.
Thank you. You know, it's hectic, but hey, it's twice the fun, right?
Yeah,
No, it
absolutely.
isn't.
No, wouldn't change it for the world. So,
Yeah. So
we're
LGBT
here to talk
issues,
about-
or
yeah.
specifically trans issues, I believe, right? Is what we kind of wanted to focus on.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say on the other stuff. And even on the trans stuff, this may even be more questions than me actually making any sort of definitive statements. But
Well, sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to try and answer, any questions you have. I think I'm kind of in an interesting place here, just considering the fact that, kind of like what I told you in DMs, I used to be a fan of your content. I used to.
Yeah, Hunter Avallone used to be a massive transphobe. Like, a ridiculous transphobe. But, back when he was entered into the hall of shame that is the descent of man. Oh, sphere.
follow you really closely when I used to be pretty right wing, and I used to believe a lot of the, anti-trans narrative, if you want to call it that, or at least a lot of the anti-trans narrative, yeah. And, I had questions also, but I felt like I kind of have found some of the answers when it comes to this. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I mean, if we want to just start off, if you wouldn't mind you want to just explain, like, your general belief on this issue, maybe?
See you later, Gray. Enjoy. Well, I
Yeah,
say
sure.
enjoy. Hopefully your experience is positive.
we're happy to. So you probably saw I did a debate with Xander Hall a few weeks ago, and I think that was when you messaged me right after. Most people agreed I did pretty okay in the debate. I don't know if it was because I did particularly well or because Xander walked himself into the ocean. I couldn't tell you.
The latter.
But on most issues, everyone thought I was at least pretty reasonable, except one, which was transgender issues, which I will admit even though he cited the wrong study at one point, he probably bested me, as I'm not the most well versed in that subject. I'm not a doctor, nor am I transgender myself. So I decided to spend a
No,
bit
but you have been enormously transphobic, so, that's a thing.
of time before we had this chat looking into the issue. And what I found is that after doing a bit of research, I am even less certain than I was before. And
Really?
there are 3 things that I know. One is I do not have the answers to how we tackle this issue of gender dysphoria, and
What issue exactly? Like, legitimately, what issue are you talking about? What? Gender dysphoria is a thing. It's a medical issue that needs to be dealt with by medical people. It's got nothing to do with you.
Transgenderism in our society too. I don't think most people have the answers, not even the experts. And
not even the
three,
experts.
well, I don't really have all the answers.
Not even the experts. So we can just have like random idiots like Lauren Southern come on and give her entirely uneducated opinions. Yay!
Answers, and I don't know everything. I feel I have some very genuine concerns to our approaches with treatment towards youth who believe
Genuine concerns and not at all bigotry. No.
they may be transgender. So
Sure. So your main
that's where I'm at.
So your main concern with the transgender thing really comes down to children then with gender dysphoria. Like, are you okay with adults, for example, pursuing like gender transition or treatment or whatever they might need? Is your contention more with the kids?
Adults can do whatever they want, but you know, when it comes to adults too, like for me, they can do what they want with their life. They can do what they want with their body. But I would certainly, if I had a friend who was going to do this, I would still say, hey, let's look at the research. Let's look at the studies. Let's look at the potential things that could go
You are fucking scum, Lauren Southern.
wrong here. Just
Right.
because someone's an adult doesn't mean I want them to, oh yeah, go and do whatever you want with no caution, right? But when it comes to my actual, like, okay, this is something we actually need to talk about as a society, definitely more concerns lean around children.
She just wants to come out and scream degenerates. Let's be absolutely brutal about it. That's what she means.
But I did want to ask you something, because I found a lot of times when I have these conversations with people that are in the more progressive sphere of things, we tend to talk past each other. We tend to not really know what each other is saying because we're speaking a different language. We're using different definitions for words. So I was wondering if we could actually start with defining some basic words that this conversation will be around, essentially.
Sure. I actually was hoping that we could also kind of talk about, you know, make sure we recognize the distinction between sex and gender too, because I think that can be really helpful for the conversation. Was that kind of what you were thinking?
So did you want to? Yeah, that's exactly it. Can we start with sex? What you would generally define sex as, and if you think it's binary?
Well, I mean, sex is generally speaking bimodal, which means that there's some like gray area and some nuance.
No, I'm straight. I'm not bimodal. It's a bisexual joke. You're valid.
It's there, but generally speaking, yeah, there are two main sexes for the most part. That sex refers to like biological characteristics, so like genitals, hormones, that kind of thing. Gender, when I talk about gender here, and you know, that way that I guess the academic definition would be a set of social roles and behaviors that we apply to people or prescribe to people that have a certain biology. Now, some of these, just to be very clear, are correlated with biology, but they're not necessarily connected to biology. So, for example, I would say it is a prescriptive gendered role or gendered trait or gendered behavior, however you want to call it, that men are stronger than women. Now, men, generally speaking, are stronger than women, so that's where this sort of gendered prescription comes from. However, if a man is not strong, he's still a man.
This is amazing. To see the growth in Hunter Avallone. Don't get me wrong, Hunter Avallone still does like this anti-SJW dipshittery. He's a reactionary knob in some respects. Anyway, the point is, to see the growth from what he was, which was like, if I go to his Descent of Manosphere, you'll get a... Now, this is not to poison the well at all on him, right? I think he's a lot better than he was. But just to give you an idea of who he was, like even a few years ago. Descent of Manosphere Hunter... What the? Why would he not give you the Hunter Avallone one, you fucking knob? For fuck's sake. Avallone. There we go, right.
Hunter Avallone here, and I really hope you're ready for this video, cause I know I am. I'm a sexist pig!
No, really, I'm rolling around in the mud because I'm a sexist pig!
Extremely shallow and really cheesy. The video hasn't even begun and I already want to kill myself.
Does that mean that I could use the ladies' bathroom?
Totally!
What about me and my safety?
Forget about you, you little bigot. Your rights simply don't matter to us as much as the rights of transgender people. That's literally the stupidest thing I've...
Anyway, that was his kind of content. He was that person. He was that. So to see him become like... oh, actually, no, sex and gender are different and trans people are okay. Like, that shows you that growth can happen, right? Not just physical growth, because clearly he was like a, I don't know, 16-year-old boy, like, pretending to shave when he hadn't had a single hair sprout out of his fucking face yet. But anyway, to see him grow and become like a proper adult who's like, oh, actually, this is a much more complicated issue than I'd ever given it before. Anyway, so he was that person and now he's not. So for me, it's been like seeing a piece of shit become a great deal less shitty. Which is a weird transformation, but there we go.
Right. So that's kind of what I want to get at there with, yeah, gender is the social prescriptions, and then sex refers to the biological characteristics. Did that answer the question?
Sure. I just want to clarify what you mean by there's gray area with...
Oh, here we go. Time for Lauren to do her bad faith nonsense. Yay!
Sex.
Well, sex being bimodal, that just means that it's on kind of a spectrum. So, like, some people might have female genitalia, but like a mismatch of chromosomes, right? That's a good example of how sometimes there are gray areas there. But generally speaking...
So that's where I disagree with you. I think sex is binary, not bimodal, since sex is based on gametes.
But that's not the only thing sex is based on. I wanted to have a conversation with you about transgender people, not necessarily
right,
sex.
But I want to make sure, but these things are important. I want to make sure that we have...
I mean, if you want to, for the sake of the...
I'm not sure how old Hunter is, but I think he's like mid-20s now. Whereas back when I did that video on him, he was like, about 17 or something. So, yeah, that was like 6 years ago. So he'd be about 23, 24 or something like that. And there we go. Apparently he's 24. So I was right. Math King. Fuck yes.
Understanding that we disagree.
I'm so
Sure.
talented.
Okay, I mean, yeah, we can...
Because I think it's important, because when we talk about being transgender, in some cases people will bring up, oh, okay, well, there's mixed match biology, so then there's an in-between between sex. I don't believe that sex is bimodal. I think that there is...
Well, yeah, but you're wrong, Lauren. I don't care what you believe, because you're incorrect.
Why do you not
or the
believe
other
that?
sex. I don't, because sex is based on gametes. That's why it's called sex. It's based on whether your body is built to produce egg or sperm, what your reproductive rules are. That's what all anisogamous mammals base their sex on.
I mean,
those
I'm not really...
reproductive roles.
I really want to make sure that we focus this debate on the issue of transgender people. I'm not really here to debate you on the intricacies and of sex. I don't want to just make an appeal to authority necessarily, but I'd be happy to send you an article that explains how sex is bimodal. I mean, this is kind of the accepted scientific consensus on this issue, at least. But even for the sake of argument,
I disagree with that.
But
yeah, you can disagree with the scientific consensus, Lauren, but that doesn't mean anything. You're still just wrong. Flat earthers also disagree with the scientific consensus. They're wrong. Anti-vaxxers disagree with the scientific consensus. They're also fucking wrong.
But I mean, even for the sake of argument, then we could just go ahead and say, okay, fine, there are only two sexes. That doesn't change anything for the discussion when it comes to trans people.
Well, no, it really does when people are trying to base someone's biological sex and say that actually biological sex has a gray area based on secondary sex characteristics. It really, in fact, gender and sex are the two big...
Also, there are people who don't fit neatly into either, Lauren. So you're just wrong. You can absolutely disagree with the scientific consensus. That is entirely your right. You have the freedom to do that. But you're still just wrong. You're still just wrong. I bring up the flat earthers quite specifically because you are the gender equivalent, or the sex equivalent, whatever, of a flat earther. That's what you are, Lauren.
Biggest questions in considering the topic of transgenderism. No, because so you look
intersex
at even
people
people that
exist.
are
Yeah,
intersex,
absolutely.
and in 99% of cases with people who are intersex, they are obviously one sex or the other.
But that
Obviously. And as we know, there's that scientific law that says if something's obvious to a dimwit like Lauren Southern, it must be true. Definitely true. Definitely true.
that's because we
because
don't.
you
That's
can
not
check
the.
if they have a
That's
S
not
or
the
Y,
only
if
way
they
that
have
we
a
determine.
Y chromosome in there.
That's
No,
not the
it
only
is,
way
it
that
is. It
no,
is
that's
the
not the only
primary
way that
way.
we determine sex. But I don't really want to get hung up on this.
You're
I want to talk about
confusing
the
sex
broader.
and sexual expression.
No, I'm talking
Sexual
about how
expression
they
is
measure.
What are you talking about sexual expression? Lauren, you're a fucking moron. What are you talking about?
How scientists
outside
measure
aspects.
sex, like, and no, how scientists measure sex within the. Let me go ahead and, if you want, I can send you an article on this. But I don't
yeah,
even
we
know
can-
if that's.
we can
But
go
I don't even know if
through
that's
this, but we
necessary.
just-
I think.
we disagree here.
Okay, let's just then
I
let's
can
just.
send you an article.
Yeah, but you can disagree. Again, Lauren, you can disagree, but that just still means you're wrong.
On this as well.
Okay, fine. Let's just agree to disagree on this then, because that doesn't really
Okay.
change anything when it comes to the transgender conversation and my general belief that trans people are valid and that the treatment for trans people.
They are valid, and they're doubly valid because that will definitely annoy what's her face that we looked at the other day. I've totally forgotten her name. Oh no, Kev. I am a silly goose.
Seems to be obviously the best move for trans people, right? To help them get better from gender dysphoria.
Okay, so
Angie speaks.
quickly,
Yeah,
since
fuck her.
we're just going to agree to disagree on sex, can we just confirm gender at least?
Yeah, so
I think I generally agree with your description of gender, which
Okay,
is
cool.
the sociological, roles that society
Christy Winter. No.
defines
right.
one specific sex of having, but that definition does vary depending on which dictionary you look at, right?
The definition can vary, and it also can vary with when colloquially versus the way it's used in like a technical academic sense. But obviously, since we're having a kind of technical conversation, it sounds good that we agree on the difference between sex and gender for the most part. But yeah, when we're talking about transgender individuals, we're talking about people suffering from gender dysphoria, which is when their identity is a mismatch from their biology.
You nearly said
and
mishmash.
it seems pretty clear that the best way to help trans people get better is to obviously treat the gender dysphoria, right?
I mean, yeah, okay, you say it's very clear, but not even all transgender activists agree that
Transgender activists.
transitioning is the cure for all transgender people.
Well, it's because it's not the
I
cure.
did-
That's not the cure all for transgender people. There are multiple steps to be taken, but
Also, I'm not sure it's a thing. I think it's wrong to look at it as something that can be cured. It's just a part of what someone is, isn't it? Oh, we already looked at the spoiled deer, but thank you, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that it's like... It seems pretty fucking problematic to think of it as something that needs to be cured. Well, that's part of the right wing's problem, is that they don't see it as like an intrinsic part of who human beings are. They don't see it as part of the human experience. They see it as like an annoyance, a problem that needs to just be gotten around, some disgusting aberration. That's what they see it as. They're not fucking remotely interested in like. They're not interested in seeing it as a person with an issue, but it's part of who they are. It's a part of the human experience. Do you know what I mean? Like it's something that needs to be extricated and cut away. Like it's cancer. Like you need to have a cure for the cancer. And that's not what it is. It's disgusting to view it that way. Now, to be fair, I don't think Hunter Avallone is necessarily looking at it from that perspective, but I think people often... This is the problem with debating slippery fucking arseholes like Lauren Southern, is that they'll use that kind of manipulative fuckery language to try and get past... to try and slip through their insidious kind of interpretation of events, to try and get their framing of the issue into the discussion, without a good-meaning person ever really understanding that that's what they're doing. Trust me, as a person who's talked to these motherfuckers for years now, that's what they do. They're so obsessed with the optics of it and the framing of the issue rather than the actual issue itself. Because they don't care about being right. They just care about like winning and owning the libs or whatever. And pushing their disgusting agenda, of course, as well.
Transition is obviously one of the larger steps we can take. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. We can get into why or why not after, but can we look at before we kind of get down to the nitty gritty, the studies where we're absolutely not going to agree on things potentially, or have some.
Yeah, so you're just going to disagree with reality again. Okay, cool. Oh, we've got Rory cuts as well. 1 second. Oh. Baby cuts. Baby cuts. Baby cuts. Baby cuts. I've pulled my fucking earphone wire thing out. Because I'm a silly goose. Where are we? Boop. I think I managed to just... Yeah. There we go. Baby cats.
You know, it's going to get down to a numbers game. Can we talk a little bit more about the philosophy of this all? Because I did want to get through a bit of that first before we get right down to numbers.
Yeah, she does want to talk about science, because science doesn't back her up. So let's just talk about philosophy instead.
Sure. I mean, yeah, like, what do you mean, the philosophy, like the social construct and what that looks like?
So, like, so the idea of gender, would you agree, was kind of defined in the 40s by Simone de Beauvoir and other feminist activists who wanted to separate the idea of sex and gender because they didn't want one's sex to determine what their role in society was.
I'm not really sure exactly where the term gender originated from. I'm more interested in how it's applied today, though. And so I'm not sure.
Well,
you know,
okay, so I think this is interesting
moved.
because that was the initial conception of why we had gender. We wanted to say, you know what, sex is purely your biology. There's male and female, and before it was kind of like, okay, and based on your sex, you have a gender role in society, and you cannot escape that. So feminists looked at that, and they said, actually, your expression of your sexuality and how you interact with the rest of society should not be based on simply your biology. So if we separate sex and gender, and we make gender into the social roles that people have in society, and make that something.
What? Who sent me this? That's just weird. What is that? Who sent me this nonsense? 255. You're being weird again. Arguably in a much better way than you have been, but that's still weird. You're being weird. Exactly. It's weird. But that's a thing apparently.
That people can vary in, you know, there are very feminine men and very feminine women, then we have created liberation for women, because you can have a person who is biologically female that can play a male role in society if they would like, or a female role in society.
Oh, it's a walking snail. Oh, okay, so you did some science fiction thing.
Or in between.
So what does that really?
So-
what does that have to do with anything? I mean, yeah, of course, gender is like gender
Well, it
being
seems
a
like
social
we're going
construct.
to a reverse of sex and gender, where we are saying again, actually, you know, when a girl plays with trains, she's now a boy.
No,
And-
no. Hold on. Whoa. We're going a little bit off there. Let's try to stay on the philosophical element of gender. So, gender being a social construct exists as a result of human interaction, and whether
Yeah, basically. Thank you to Nerney, who gifted a sub to Sack of Beans. Lovely work. Rory kids. You don't give a fuck. I do, though, but Rory doesn't care. Rory does not care for these human nonsenses.
whether we want to call it gender or not, gender has always existed among humans. And gender has always had no bearing on biology and has also changed over time. So, like, for example, at one point, it would have been a gendered behavior for men to wear high heels because it was masculine to be taller. That was gender, and even though they didn't call it... It's great. All right, well, let me just put the stream on pause here, Lauren. I'm so sorry.
No worries. That's all right.
I don't know what happened here. This is clearly been
All right, guys, try to refresh your stream.
Oh, did they have some technical issues? Imagine that. Imagine having a streamer who had technical issues. Fucking losers. Ugh. Yeah, Rory Cat's just chilling there over on the... That's one of his favourite lying down. He gets to look out the window at his domain. That's the back garden out there.
People are saying it's back, so let's just go ahead and continue with
Are we back?
Yeah, people are saying it's back. We'll go ahead and continue with the conversation. It'll be posted up when it's done though. So.
Okay.
So sorry, I kind of go ahead. You want to repeat that? To where were we again?
Honestly,
These fucking boomers. Jesus Christ. Imagine that. Oh, could you imagine, chat? Having someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing technologically trying to do a stream. It'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Ugh. I'm glad. Yeah, true, Rory Cats. I'm also glad we're not that. That'd be dope. Anyway, yeah, bit of shilling as we miss the top of the hour, as we always do. That's why I've stopped even bothering doing ads, because I just forget. Anyway, yeah, you can follow me here. Hit the follow button. You'll make the black bar, go further across, and we'll get closer to the 100. A lot of you watch. Not all of you follow. So hit the fucking follow button, yeah? Let's sort that shit out, shall we? You can also subscribe to me here. That will cost you money. Unless you've got an Amazon Prime account, in which case you can link it to your Twitch account for nothing. And you get one free subscription every month, which you can use to give me $5 of Jeff Bezos's yacht that needs a helipad money. In which I will use to get a very, very, very small yacht that needs a smaller yacht with a smaller helipad. Because that's all I can afford. Also, bits messages. You can send me bits messages if that's a thing you want to do. You can also send me a super chat message via the Streamlabs link. It is linked below. Yeah, following is free. And what's better than free stuff? Nothing. So, anyway, what else is there? Oh yeah, the Discord, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, all of that stuff. That stuff's all free as well. So good times.
I probably should.
can't even remember.
I know, right? I think
Gone.
we were talking about the philosophical makeup of. That's right. We were talking about
we
gender
can
and.
move on from that if you want.
Yeah, we were talking about gender
I
and
don't
sex.
mind moving on from it.
Okay, cool. So we kind of agree then that sex and gender are different for the most part, for the sake of this discussion too. So it sounds like we're making some decent ground here. So like when trans people, right, are and trans youth also, when they have gender dysphoria, when they have that gender incongruence and that depression and that anxiety and that discomfort in their own body, it's been medically proven repeatedly that.
Sorry, yeah, I wasn't laughing at that. I'm laughing. Someone sent me that and said, "Welcome to America." That is a shotgun. Oh no, a rifle. Like thing with a scope and all the rest of it. That's like a grill flipper thing. That is fucked up, isn't it, Rory Kurtz? Are you looking at birds? I know because he's looking over there, probably into next door's garden at the tree, because there are birds in that tree, and he often cackles at it. Spatula is the word I was looking for. True.
The best way to help trans people and help them get better is by putting them through treatment, right? Doesn't that just kind of follow?
Okay, so this is an interesting question. Have there actually been well-done studies showing that is the best line of action?
Yes, there has been, but also I'd want to know what specifically, like, has what, like puberty blockers? Because I'd be happy to, if you want to focus on puberty blockers.
I was gonna say it depends on what you mean by treatment, because there are so many approaches, aren't there?
Well, usually what happens is that, generally, if a child is showing signs of gender dysphoria, according to the American Psychological Association, you have to be.
The right to own spatulas shall not be infringed. It's in the fucking 2.1 amendment.
Showing gender dysphoria for a minimum of 6 months consistently. So when trans people are suffering from gender dysphoria, they meet with a therapist, they meet with a doctor, they meet with psychologists. It's a long process. And keep in mind that at least in the US, there's only like 50 gender clinics in the entire country. So it's not like it's this really easy
I think there's like 2 in the UK, which is so shit.
Thing to get a hold of. And then after a lot of consultation and talking to the child, sometimes they are put on puberty blockers, which, yes, like all medicine, has potential side effects or potential risks, But generally speaking, they seem to be relatively safe, and the benefits greatly outweigh the risks.
Okay, so I would reckon that there's probably more research around adults, since bringing hormone blockers and certainly sex reassignment surgery to kids would be fairly new and
Sex
controversial
reassignment,
and not
just,
even allowed.
Sorry to cut you off again. I do want to make sure I let you make a point. But just to clarify,
I'm stuck in a Hobby Lobby and cataloguing the American brainworms bullshit. Well, Maria, thank you. You've added enormously to this. By the way, did you put out the shout to the people who were like, "Oh, I can't listen to the Israel stuff"? Are they back yet? I don't even know how this works. I don't know what people were planning on doing.
by sex reassignment surgery, that's not really happening to children. I think it's the endocrine.
It's not happening at all to children. Obviously. What the fuck? Like, there are no children getting their genitals like messed with medically in that way. And I say messed with, you know what I mean? Like that's the way these people will look at it. Oh, you're having your dick chopped off. Which anytime you hear some dickhead say something like that, you know they don't actually understand remotely what the actual medical procedure is. Yeah, there are none. Okay, none. They put on hormone blockers, which buys time for them to do the growing and learning that you claim you want them to do. Because basically what they mean by that, when they say, oh, these are young people, they don't necessarily understand, you need to wait till you get to adulthood. They're basically saying, yeah, then they can just stop, they can just not be transgender then. They're just going to pretend, just don't be transgender anymore, you know? Whereas actually the hormone blockers allows you to do that. The hormone blockers allow you to have that extended period by which you can then grow and develop and learn about yourself and who you are and the person you want to express as or whatever, you know. Yeah.
Society actually recommends that.
Well, that's yeah.
That doesn't
That's
even.
what I was saying.
Yeah,
So
that's okay. Sure.
What
So
I'm
let's
saying
just
is,
focus
can
on.
can we quickly just like, are there any studies in adults? Because I reckon adults would have the best research around them, since you can do more with adults than with kids.
Yeah, actually, that's the point. Yeah, kids who were born intersex often have forcible fucking gender assignment surgery done to them way before they can ever possibly know anything about. They haven't even discovered their feet yet, and yet they're being told what gender they have to be for the rest of their life, basically, which is fucky. That needs to stop. I don't hear many. Turfy type fucking people really arguing against that, though. Apparently that's fine.
Do you have any studies that show that putting people on hormones, giving people sex reassignment surgery, that has positive outcomes and improves their quality of life?
Yeah.
Yes. What the fuck? Lauren, stop fucking talking shit. You know full well there are loads of those studies around. Oh. But she'll just do the whole, well, I'm not an expert, I'm just asking questions. She's sea lining, basically, is what she's doing there.
Yeah. Do you want me to send you like a specific study? I have a meta-analysis here from Cornell with 55 different studies. They're all.
But that's Cornell. It's run by the Jews. Sorry, not the Jews. She's pretending not to do the Nazi thing anymore. It's run by the cultural Marxisms. Lauren Southern's a lot cleverer now than she was before. She's totally a centrist, guys.
Peer-reviewed, and I can just read you this quick little summary if you want. It says, this search found a robust international consensus in the peer-reviewed literature that gender transition, including medical treatments such as hormone therapy and surgeries, improves the overall well-being of transgender individuals. The literature also indicates that greater availability of medical and social support for gender transition contributes to better quality of life for those who identify as trans. Now, I can send you this if you want.
I just opened it. This isn't a meta-analysis.
What is it?
It's a systemic review.
Okay, so it's a systemic review of 55 different studies that are all peer-reviewed, and it found that.
Do you know the difference between a meta-analysis and a systematic
I do know the
review?
difference, yeah, but if you don't like this one, I actually do have a meta-analysis here also.
Well, no, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this, because I have seen a bit of the Cornell systematic review.
Oh, really? So why did you claim that? Why did you ask whether there had such a thing existed then? If you've seen part of it, Lauren, why did you a sea lion and say, "Do you have any studies that show this?" What's this? David Reimer was a Canadian man born male, but I should probably put that on screen so everyone can see what I'm reading. There was a Canadian man born male but raised as a girl following medical advice and intervention after his penis was severely injured during a botched circumcision in infancy. What the fuck? The psychologist John Money oversaw the case and reported the reassignment is successful and is evidence that gender identity is primarily learned. The academic sexologist Milton Diamond... Hang on, they're called Money and Diamond. Are they taking the piss? And their associate professor, Johnny Cashman, later reported that Reimer's realisation that he was not a girl crystallised between the ages of 9 and 11, and he transitioned to living as a male at the age of 15. Well known in medical circles for years, known as the John Joan case, Reimer later went public about his story and helped discourage similar medical practices. He committed suicide after suffering severe depression. Yeah. Again, I don't hear Lauren Southern out here being like, tell you what, circumcision's pretty fucked up. Why are you messing around with children's genitals medically at that age? You should wait until you're 18. Don't hear that very often from them, do you? Yeah, I think I vaguely remember hearing that story before about Mr. Reimer. Absolute awful shit.
View, and I just want the audience to understand the difference between a meta-analysis and a systematic review, because it does matter. A meta-analysis is when you use statistical techniques to try to find out, to try to combine these studies and find a result and find how good they are. But you use statistical techniques. A systematic review does not use any techniques. It literally just compiles studies. You could go into Google Scholar.
So she's literally just going to nitpick about the difference between this thing and the other thing, rather than go, oh, actually, no, it conclusively shows that, actually, in these instances, yeah, those people's lives were massively improved. A meta-analysis is when I shove you into a locker, Lauren. Yeah. Understand this methodology, bitch.
Scholar and create your own systematic review.
All right, well, I can send you,
combining a bunch of studies.
If you're not too happy with that one, I can send you a different one, which is a systematic review and meta-analysis of quality of life.
I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this study because it's important, and because a lot of people tend to name the Cornell meta-analysis as an absolute,
Apparently you said it wasn't a meta-analysis, so what the fuck is it?
This is what proves that gender-affirming surgery works. Most of the studies in the systematic review have a sample size of under 100, with some of them in here having under 20.
That's trying to invalidate.
That is not representative of the general population.
That's
one study.
What do you mean the general population? How many trans people do you think there fucking are? If you were to test all of the trans people, would that be enough for you? Like, Rurika, help me out, friend. He does not give a shit. He's looking at those birds. He wants to eat those birds. Anyway, yeah, there aren't that many trans people who, you can really study. And you have to get people's permission. And understandably, trans people not super open to being, having their medical procedures, investigated and shit. They're a bit... trying to keep that close to their chest, you know what I mean? It's private medical information. So there's only so many you can realistically fucking, study. What does she fucking want? The general population? You're a fucking dishonest weasel, Lauren.
Study was added twice by mistake, and the largest studies in here actually have the most severe problems.
There are always going to be issues when it comes to compiling data like this. A systematic review, though, it's supposed to look over all of the different peer-reviewed literature and come to a general conclusion. If you're not happy with this, I think that going through individual and trying to pick off sample sizes, do you have counter data to prove your position? Or
I do, and I'm happy to talk about it. But I think it's a big problem when a lot of people, certainly I know you're not in the breadtube community in particular,
I'm not,
but
no.
a lot of people in the breadtube community.
Oh, here we go. So it's the leftisms now that's the problem. God damn it, those leftisms.
A lot of people in progressive circles, they tend to, in debates, just throw studies at people and say, I'm correct because study, because study, because study. And
Oh no, they show you actual scientific data. Those dastards.
and they haven't read the studies. They don't know how the study was done. I mean, in this Cornell systematic review, there are things in here that aren't even studies. They're just cost-benefit analysis of transitioning that
Do you have
doesn't
any
answer
counter
any
data?
questions, that are no original research.
There are still 55
Angela
different
Heru
studies
and
here.
Campbell, 2015 in there.
There's
Then,
still different- there's
Bailey,
still-
Ellis, and McNeil, which had one of the highest sample sizes in there. It was a narrative analysis that utilized an online survey, which was promoted by LGBT groups and support organizations.
There are going to
Do
be
you think
there's
that is
Lauren,
a non-biased
there's
sample
going to be-
size.
So let's just muddy the waters, Lauren. Yeah, that's totally an intellectually honest pursuit. Yeah.
there's going to be room for error,
For
of course.
sample.
If you don't like the Cornell study, I'm happy to send you multiple other studies. But by going through the methodology and trying to like cast doubt on the study, that's not really a good argument. I'm curious if you have
Hunter, studies are only as good as their methodology.
I'm curious if you have alternative data that proves that it's not good for trans people.
I'm not the one trying to put children through hormone therapy. I'm the one saying we need to be patient and we need.
Yeah, but Lauren, that is a medical decision. You are arguing that they shouldn't have that. So you do have to show that that would be a better course of action than them doing it. You know, no medical intervention is a medical intervention. Like, you can't say, look, I don't need to prove that not giving radiotherapy to people with cancer actually helps, okay? My letting people just live with cancer is the null hypothesis. You have to... No! Not doing anything, right, is doing something. You are making a decision to deliberately not intervene with this medical matter. You have to prove the efficacy of that. You don't get to be like, oh, I'm not the one making a claim. Yeah, you are. Yes, you fucking are, Lauren.
Well,
get
hold on.
better
This was
data.
an overall systematic review, I believe, of adults, and that's what you asked for. You asked for stuff with adults. I can send you a different study. It's not a meta-analysis, but it's still a study on the benefits of puberty blockers for
Would you
children.
at least agree that methodology matters?
Of course, methodology matters, but I also think that it's kind of dishonest to try and poke holes in the methodology when
Kind
you're not
of,
willing
yeah.
to provide data, like alternative
Hunter,
data.
I don't need to counter studies when your own studies are of poor quality.
Well, do you want me to
Like,
send
it's
you a
not-
different meta?
Okay, so I've poked holes in like a tiny percentage of this, so therefore it's all worthless information. Whereas this from the noted 4chan science blog is definitely true, yeah.
This is a systematic review and
yeah, I'm
meta-analysis
happy
of
for
quality
you
of
to.
life and psychosocial outcomes from the Wiley Online Library.
Okay, let's see this.
That's another meta-analysis. And then, but again, like, we're kind of getting down in the weeds here. You asked me for studies about adults. Do you want to go back and talk about puberty blockers and the way that that helps children? Here's
Oh,
a
no,
study.
no, let's look at this study because I don't want you can't just throw studies one after another at me. We have to actually look at the studies, go through them a bit, and then we can move on to the next one. Just throwing studies
And this
at
is
someone
lower
not a
quality evidence.
conversation.
This I'm admitting right now that this is a little bit lower quality evidence, but when it comes to social sciences, it's extremely. I was actually just having a conversation yesterday with someone who is minoring in statistics. How when it comes to social sciences, it's really hard to control for all of these variables. We have to work with what we have, with the limitations that comes with social sciences, and what we have right now. These are the meta-analyses that suggest that sex reassignment tends to better the transgender individual.
Okay, and I'm assuming on this Wiley study, Rad, that you read the summary of it at least.
I'm
correct?
already acknowledging that it's lower quality evidence, but that's because of
No,
social.
Hunter, there's low quality evidence and there's very low quality. And the people who wrote the study say it is very low quality. This is 7 of the studies in here were only questionnaires. Only 3 had control groups, and the control groups didn't even match the criteria.
Do you have
none of the
data
studies
that
were
counter?
randomized,
Do you have
so
data
none
that
of them were representative
I
of
just
the average
hold on.
population.
I just tried to explain that when it comes to social sciences like this, it's really hard to control for all of those different variables. Secondly, anybody can look at studies and say this is poor quality. That's not really an argument.
Oh wait, can you link me? I think I'm looking at the wrong Wiley Online study. Can you link me the one you're using?
Is it the hormonal therapy and sex reassignment, a systematic review from 2010?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're looking at the right one.
Okay.
So that's not really, I don't think that's a
Yeah.
very solid argument. And if you want, we can go ahead and look at what you asked me originally, which was pubertal suppression for transgender youth. And of this one, the conclusion is this is the first study in which associations between access to pubertal suppression and suicidality are examined. There is a significant inverse association between treatment with pubertal suppression during adolescence and lifetime suicidal ideation among transgender adults who ever wanted this treatment. Now, I've heard you talk before. I listened to some of your discussion with Xander Hall. I think it was a pretty interesting discussion. And you made it really clear that, you care about transgender people. You recognize that
Of course.
they're struggling, of course. And
No, she doesn't. That's a lie. What the fuck? Who's taken in by that nonsense?
I think that that's true, but I just don't understand how you can say you care about transgender people, but then be against what seems to be the treatment as of right now.
Hunter, because I care about people that are struggling with gender dysphoria, and because I absolutely care about children, I want to ensure that people are getting the proper treatment and not just jump into something that seems
Notice how she doesn't say transgender people. She cares about people suffering with dysphoria. Yeah, she's a weasel.
like a popular social fad with a lot of really poorly done research.
A social fad. There we go. Trenders. High quality evidence and argumentation. She's garbage.
And if you have
So
the
what's
data
your solution?
that shows, if you have the data that shows that this is actually helping and this is actually improving lives, like, I'm not a psychopath. If I were given an option, tell you this, if I were given an option between a child who is going to commit suicide, and we know this 100%, or we can use an experimental treatment on them, I'm going to pick the experimental
Yeah, but your weird hypotheticals are irrelevant to anything. We can't know for sure anyone's going to commit suicide. We know overwhelmingly that transgender people who are not supported, both medically and socially, are more likely to commit suicide, and Rory's just gotten down. We know that they're more likely to commit suicide, but we can't guarantee that any individual is going to commit suicide. So in any situation where we say, oh, well, look at the high suicidality amongst trans people, we say, well, yeah, but this child, we don't know if this child's going to definitely commit suicide, so no, we can't have any kind of medical intervention on them. Like, fuck off, man. She's so full of shit.
treatment every single time.
So this
I'm
is
not a
another issue, though.
psychopath.
This is the kind of straw man, though, is this isn't an experimental treatment. The FDA has already approved puberty blockers for children who aren't even transgender if they go through what's called precocious puberty, where you enter puberty too early. These aren't experiments
and
being
there
done.
have been studies done on that show it lowers the IQ of girls who have been on it by
Oh,
7.
IQ alert. Get the calipers out, people. We're going phrenology with this shit. Whoop, whoop.
points.
I mean, I would
it's
be very
not-
curious to see those studies. Listen, when it comes to medication, there's always going to be a risk. Every time, anytime
Yes.
we take a medication in general, right? We are recognizing subconsciously that, hey, there are risks and there are benefits. Do the benefits outweigh the
Right.
risks, or vice
Correct.
versa? When it comes to, like, if I told you right now, how would you feel about giving your kid a medication that has potential side effects of turning their eyes yellow, making them vomit, diarrhea, a fever, possible like intestine infections? You would probably be like, hold up, that doesn't sound too safe. But that's amoxicillin, the most common cold/flu medication we give to children. Like, ADHD medication has been linked to
True. The tablets I used to take had like anal bleeding and stuff as some of the side effects. Like, what the fuck? Temporary loss of vision or some shit. Like, it was really strange.
long-term, like infertility, long-term use
No, I
in
didn't
mammals.
have either of those side effects, thankfully. But like, I would argue that's pretty fucking bad. Like, the side effects of everything you do medically, obviously. You're literally interfering with a very, very complicated series of, systems and things which link together.
I
We
know.
give
I have ADHD.
we give that medication to children. Like this is how medicine works. There are risks and there are benefits. And when you look at this puberty blockers thing, you can either look at it from there's a negligible chance of a slightly lower decrease of bones, which by the way would improve once they get older and go on HRT. And then maybe like a very slim chance of like infertility occurring. Maybe. These are slim, very unlikely things to happen versus for what? To live a generally better life, a better quality of life, and not fucking hang yourself when you're an adult. I think that that's generally a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to quickly point out one thing. I find, because I watched a few of your other debates before coming on here, and I find you do an appeal to authority thing a lot. Like, this is FDA approved, therefore it's good, it's perfect.
No,
that
it's been tested. That it's not an experimental thing. Yeah, that is literally what the FDA does, or it's called NICE in the UK, the National Institute for Clinical Excellence. That's what they do. They test a thing, they find out, oh, well, there's generally some efficacy to this, the side effects aren't so extreme. Okay, we'll go forward with that. It's not an experimental thing then, at that point. It's been approved by the people who, like, literally are there to approve those things. That's literally all he was saying and all I would say.
FDA
That's not what I
and some of
said.
these organizations.
That's
like,
not
do
what
you
I
agree
said.
that the FDA have made mistakes before in approving medicines?
Yes, but do you also agree that by taking that approach, you're basically making it so that your argument can't be argued against? I'm not making an appeal to authority.
Well, that's why she's doing it, yeah.
I'm not making an
I'd love
appeal
to
to
talk
authority.
about the actual.
If I could just
we
finish
can
really
talk about
quickly.
the science.
I'm
Yeah,
not
okay.
making an appeal to authority. An appeal to authority would be if I was appealing to someone who's an authority figure in a different area. Like if I were like, well, Brad Pitt says this is good. That would be an appeal to authority. The FDA is an authority when it comes to approving medication, and they've already approved the puberty blockers. They've been used since the 80s on cis kids. This idea that this is like some experimental drug or whatever is just, it's not true. What's happening here is just kids suffer from gender dysphoria. It's been happening forever, and it's going to continue to happen, and this is what's been shown to better their mental health. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if Lauren Southern's argument was taken to its logical, ridiculous conclusion, all doctors make mistakes. So therefore, never listen to a doctor. Fuck doctors. What? We listen to authority all the time. Now, sometimes that's bad, like the police. Can I get some 1312s in chat? But sometimes it's good, like when a doctor says, oh, take these medicines or stop eating greasy foods or whatever. You know, that's generally a good thing. When a surgeon, like, cuts you open, there's a chance that that's going to go badly wrong. But if you leave it, your appendix bursts and you die. Medical intervention is dangerous. We know that. But doing nothing is significantly more dangerous.
I don't want trans people to suffer, and I want to make society better.
Okay, so let's talk about whether this actually helps people
I
or
am
not.
feeling better. Choking on ashes or whatever the fuck you're called. Choking on ashes 61. Yeah, I am feeling in fine fettle today. I am on good form. I am medium dick energy.
First, just so the audience are aware, the FDA have approved drugs that have killed tens of thousands of people and then retracted them and tried to cover up their release, like Vioxx.
You
It's
keep
just
trying to
people
poke
looking
holes in
bad.
what I've said without providing
I'm
counter
I'm telling
arguments.
the audience. I'm telling the audience.
Yeah, you're just trying to smear medical authority because you know medical authority is not on your side. Yeah, pathetic. Yeah.
Just so you know, the FDA have made mistakes before, and you can look into it. Vioxx. You wanted some.
Okay, yeah, things, again, mistakes get made. I have no idea whether the thing she's going on about cover up or something. And maybe they did cover it up. Okay, what does that mean? Anything to do with, like, again, Lauren, just saying mistakes happen and sometimes the FDA like have covered something up. Even if we just accept that's true, okay? You still have to provide evidence that the thing you're arguing against is really the problem. Because no one's just saying the FDA said it, so therefore it's fine. We're saying the FDA have approved it, so it's not experimental. So you calling it experimental is dishonest. You have to then go on and say, there's a significant problem with this. Globo homo, globo homo. True. Can I get some globo homos in chat? Thank you to Wayward Historian for gifting us up to Rob1010. Lovely Chad manoeuvrings from the Wayward Historian as always. Yeah, so you have to actually argue that the puberty blockers are having some sort of negative effect, which you have singularly failed to do. You've been asked. We've been going nearly half an hour into this now, and you've been asked several times by Hunter, what is your opposing evidence? You claim to have that evidence. You're not exactly citing it very, very readily, though, are you? Almost as if you're full of shit. Lauren. Just a thought. I had to gift after that average dick energy. Thank you. I bring you nothing but the most mediocre dick energy, okay?
Counter evidence, the studies for, I can't even pronounce it.
Your phone autofills Globo Homo. I am a bad influence and I love it.
Polish last name, Wojnia's 2016, was a study of young girls who were treated with triptorelin, which is one of the GnRHs, which is generally used to block puberty. And it showed that with a control group, their substantial amount of IQ points went down by 7 points.
IQ points. Fucking hell. We are literally... Let's just do some phrenology. Let's just do phrenology now. Fuck it, yeah. Get the calipers out, start measuring like the bumps on their skulls. Ooh. Oh, I see your propensity for criminality has increased. The ridge above your eye is slightly less deep. Like, fucking stop. Fucking IQ. Anyone who mentions like IQ in some serious way like that is full of shit. Anyway. How does such a small creature create that loud a noise? Oh, poor God.
Oh. Okay, well.
Fuck yes. It's chow time. Heck yes. That's a mama dog playing with baby dogs. Oh, look at her tits. Oh my God. Oh, that one wants to get fed. And he can't get... The tit won't stay... It won't stay, like... It keeps moving. He's going to die of thirst, the lad.
Did they attribute that specifically to
2 years
the
of
puberty
treatment.
blockers?
Compared to a control group, this is what their conclusion was in the study. That
What was the medication
children
called?
took the IQ tests, triptorelin, which is one of the Lupron and triptorelin are the two main in the GnRHs.
Right,
that are
right,
used
okay,
to
yeah, I
block
just wanted to
puberty
make
in
sure.
kids.
Yeah, I was asking you to look at that bitch's tits. Yeah. Clip it.
And I mean, Lupron, there's a ton of studies on the negative effect it's had on adults, particularly grown men who have prostate cancer and have had to take it. They get loss of sexual function. Obviously,
That can happen. Yeah, but that can happen with all kinds of prostate cancer. It fucks around with your gubbins. Trust me, I know.
testosterone produces
Well,
red
not from my dad went through it anyway.
blood cells, so they get anemia, they get reduced hemoglobin.
He was telling me he had a bent cock for a bit as well. It straightened out apparently, but he had a bent cock. Because why not? Why not tell your son that? That's normal behaviour. Normal behaviour. Toy Car says trans rights. True. True.
Loss of muscle tissue, fatigue,
I
mood
think
changes.
that you're kind of getting off.
Metabolic syndrome, bloating, cognitive issues.
Lauren, no one's disputing.
You're saying I'm getting off topic, but
No,
I'm
because
saying
no one's
these are some of the.
I know, but no one's disputing that medication has risks. We already acknowledge that. Like I already said, I mean, every time you take a Tylenol, like too much of that shit can kill you with fatal liver problems. Like, all medication has potential risks.
Exactly. We do need to trans America. That is true. Forced transing for everybody.
IQ thing, like IQ can change, especially when people are younger. I would have to see that study and know if it was actually directly like correlated to puberty blockers at all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The fact that it's affecting adults with prostate cancer is not really relevant to how it affects, you know, a 12-year-old girl. Really, just a thought.
When it comes to the other claims, though, about like I said, lower bone density and whatnot, these are negligible.
An 8 IQ deficit is extreme. That's extreme.
Well, it was 7 a minute ago, and also IQ isn't a measurement of anything. I don't fucking care.
I would have to take a look at that study at some time. I'd be happy to look at it sometime.
Yeah.
to see the IQ thing. But you know what? Again, we need to talk about whether or not the benefits outweigh the negatives. And I think let's go ahead and say let's go ahead and even say, okay, fine, it lowers your IQ, whatever. What's better, to have a little bit of a lower IQ and not fucking kill yourself, not have depression, live a better quality of life, versus what? I want to know what your solution is to this, because
her solution is trans people just need to stop being trans, and those that don't can just kill themselves. Fuck it. That's her solution to it. Her solution, ironically, could be considered to be rather a final solution to that.
You're kind of against what is sort of accepted as the treatment right now. So what is your solution?
What is my solution? Well, okay, let me ask you, what do you think is the better outcome for a child?
Exactly, IQ. Your IQ measures how well you can take IQ tests, which is not a useful skill in any respect. It doesn't measure anything of use or worth. No one should care. No one should care.
Have gender dysphoria and to struggle with this issue that we both know causes mass amounts of psychological, mental, sociological crises in people. It's tragic. It is not a fun thing. And
it's tragic.
It is tragic, and we know for a fact that those who are socially helped during, and indeed, I say after, is there ever really an after? I don't know. But anyway, during their transition period, let's say, they're supported socially, are far, far more likely to be mentally and physically healthy afterward. So you bullying them and being shitty to them in this way makes that less likely, Lauren. You pumping out garbage that scares weird boomers and like gets them to kick their fucking kids and grandkids out onto the fucking streets for being trans, which happens pretty regularly, does not help the situation. It makes it more tragic. Assuming you actually believe it to be tragic at all, which you don't. You're just being dishonest. But whatever, you know? I took 3 different IQ tests in high school as a control, and the results varied from off the charts to borderline developmentally challenged. I'll take a look for the studies. Yeah, the thing is, the IQ tests aren't really a measure of anything useful. They're just not. Anyone who mentions them is some sort of, generally either a complete quack or some sort of Nazi or a combination of the two. So, you know, Lauren.
When I've spoken to transgender people, I know, it's a hard thing for them. And I will admit, I think this is something that conservatives don't acknowledge enough, that this is a genuine struggle. People don't choose this. It's not something, they didn't choose to not want to be in the right body, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if they're dealing with gender dysphoria, then yeah, in this context.
Well, also, that's not the only trans story that exists. It's not all fucking they're born in the wrong body thing. That is a relatively common one from my understanding, but I've talked to trans people for whom that isn't the case. It can be any number of different things. By the way, 88 viewers, you're all Nazis. That's how that works. Numbers don't lie. For your racist march needs. Will the tiki torch ever really survive? I don't know.
For
Yeah,
sure.
not great. So I think the best solution, first of all, is that people not have gender dysphoria in the first place. Can we agree there?
I mean, yeah, but how would you go about doing that?
Okay, well, there is an 88% desistance rate in gender dysphoric boys.
You are a cop, Joe. Yeah.
And
sure.
that means they think that they have gender dysphoria, and then they decide later on that they don't actually have it. They desist. And that is an amazing result. Usually they go on to become gay men. That's usually what they go on to be. Oh, I actually was just gay. I wasn't a woman.
Here we go. They're stealing the lesbians. She's just a cavalcade of the same old talking points. There's nothing new or interesting here, is there?
Straight up.
What's this? I have...
Straight up, man. Numbers don't lie.
I'm a number 5!
Okay, I'll play. I don't know what the fuck this... Right, anyway.
Straight up, man. Numbers don't lie.
I'm a number 5!
That number did lie.
And the problem here with puberty blockers is the main deciding point for children when they desist, that has been studied, is puberty. So you are reducing the chance of someone not having to struggle with gender dysphoria for the rest of their life by not allowing them to go through puberty and have this 88% chance of
88%. How ironic.
desistance, which is
Okay,
from the,
so-
I can send you the study on this.
Yeah.
I can send you the studies
Please
that
do.
show. Okay. So here's the 88% desistant rate in young
Yeah,
boys.
exactly. Well, because Lauren Southern genuinely believes anecdotes mean something. Which, I mean, they don't when you're talking about huge populations of people. It's just the story of one or two people, right? And he's not pulling her up on that for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. Especially when his scientific studies earlier, she was picking apart. Really ineffectively, I have to say. Whereas now, like, anecdotal studies of, like, a few people who, quote-unquote, detransition is, he's just letting that go, which is...
And then here's the
bit yikesy.
Sage. This is from Sage Journal. This shows
this
adolescents
website's
with
not working.
persisting gender dysphoria, persisters, and those in whom gender dysphoria remitted, desisters, indicated that
Phenomenal lass with the thing. The trapped in the wrong body trope isn't an actual thing. It's an outdated metaphor that was used to try to make how we do actually feel easy to understand. Okay, that's fair enough.
they considered the period between 10 and
Point
13 years of
taken.
age to be crucial.
Okay,
They
can I
reported
cut
that
in here
this
really
period,
quickly?
They became
Because-
increasingly aware of the persistence or desistance
Okay,
of their
so
childhood gender dysphoria.
I,
There's this
I
one.
already know what the issue is with this right here, and this is a problem with a lot of this.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of interesting because you just started talking about the methodology. Studies like this follow the referral rate. So, of course, you're going to see a larger decrease of people who are referred because that's the point of going to a clinic, right? You're referred there to go, hey, let's get checked out and see if this is anything to worry about or not. So, of course, you're going to see a larger decrease if you just look at who's referred to clinics. It says right at the beginning, this study reports follow-up data on the largest sample of...
Lauren, you stupid bitch. Didn't what Hunter used to be right-wing? I would argue he still kind of is, but he used to be like ludicrously transphobic. Like back in the day, I did videos about it, like a few years ago. But he's clearly grown up since then, and is now not transphobic, from what I say.
of boys clinic referred. So if you actually look at once people are, now this is clinic referred for gender dysphoria. So again, that could mean that, they thought they might have gender dysphoria, so they were referred to the clinic. When you actually look at it in a way that when you control for kids who actually are confirmed gender dysphoria, the regret or the detransition rate is only about around like 13%. And out of that, the vast reason for that is because external factors like pressure from the family, school environments, vulnerability to violence, and whatnot, which again plays into the fact that this is a social issue that we need to be more accepting of trans people.
True. And again, it's worth always pointing out, even if those overall numbers, like the 13% lack of success rate, if you want to call it that, it's not, but, even if that were not caused by any external factors whatsoever, 13% miss rate is actually pretty good compared to a lot of other medical interventions. A lot of other medical interventions. There are some that have significantly less chance of success than that. But there we go. Yes, femboys are valid, tomboys are valid. You know who's valid? You out there. Yeah, that's right. And we just caused I forgot her fucking name again. I'm gonna stop referencing it because I can never remember her name. The Ash, no. Angie Speaks. Fucking not Ash. Angie Speaks. Yeah. You're all valid, and Angie Speaks is garbage. I did not run an ad at the top of the hour because I always forget to, so I basically stopped doing that. And it wasn't that much money anyway, so like, whatever. But you can follow. Hit the follow button. If you're watching now and you're not followed, hit the follow button. Come on now. Let's make it happen. Also, you can subscribe, and there's bits. Subscribe, bits, follow. Follow, bit, subscribe. Subscribe, bit, follow.
People if we want to actually help them. Lastly, you talk about kids like growing out of stuff, right? Well, that supports.
Wait,
Hold on. I just really quickly want to say this, and
Yeah.
then I'll let you respond. When you talk about kids growing out of stuff, that supports my point. Puberty blockers, this is why they're relatively safe and reversible for the most part, right? It's so that you can put kids on puberty blockers to make sure that they can decide: am I trans? Am I not? Do I want to pursue treatment as I get older, or do I not? Because the risk of going through the wrong puberty greatly raises their chance of killing themselves later on down the line.
Okay.
So if you're worried about them
let's
detransitioning or changing their mind, wouldn't you? That would support puberty blockers, right? Because they're reversible.
Okay, if you are claiming that this study is flawed because it uses
Did I just see a caramel macchiato? Ugh, you bougie fuckhead.
referrals, that's almost every single study regarding transgenderism.
I can send you a study that
Including every
didn't.
single
That
one
actually
you would
uses.
have cited.
I can literally send you a study that
uses
didn't.
referrals. And detransitioning is not desistance. They're different things. Almost every single study, the best evidence that's out there, and you can look into this, people watching this.
The best evidence. All of the best evidence supports me, Lauren Southern, the science queen.
Look into this, shows a desistance
Kill
rate
me.
of at least above 50%, which means
At least above 50%. Definitely true, and totally not just shit she's pulling out of her arse now. Definitely.
by continuing kids and by not letting them go through natural puberty, there's at least tons of kids that did not have to go through drugs for the rest of their life. That
Wait,
did not
what do
have
you mean
to
drugs
deal
for the rest
with
of your life?
Yeah, drugs for the rest of your life. Please, Lauren, just stop lying.
gender dysphoria. Well,
What do you mean? Kids can go on puberty blockers, give themselves a second to figure it out. If they decide, hey, I don't think I'm actually trans, I'm okay. They go off the puberty blockers and continue their puberty.
When the point of desistance, when the point of deciding that you are transgender or not is generally when you go through puberty and you stop that, and instead you put a kid on drugs that prevents them from getting to that point where people generally decide, does that not?
That's not true. It's not. It's
Because
not.
you're either going in one direction or the other. You're either leaning your kid towards desistance or you're leaning them towards a full-on transition. And
What would be
continuing
better?
to put someone on drugs
What would
is
be better?
leaning them towards a full-on transition.
If your
I
child
think
is
that it's better
exhibiting
that
signs,
someone-
Lauren, are you suggesting that people who've been put on puberty blockers and it'll stop them from realising they're not trans and they'll just go through with trans, like, medicine for the rest of their lives without ever realising? What fucking world is this dipshit living in?
not struggle with gender dysphoria in the first place.
well then your position is completely unattainable and unrealistic. I don't like this is like if I came up to you and said, hey, I really support people with OCD, anxiety, and depression. You know, OCD is something I actually struggled with growing up. That's really tough.
Oh, Angie Speaks did a weird thing where she was saying, like, people saying that this, you know, that this group is valid or that group is valid is, like, really bad. Look, she got angry about it. She was full of shit.
Man, it sucks. But I don't really support giving people, you know, antidepressants or any of the medication that helps. Now, you know, the ideal situation would be just don't have anxiety. Like, this is unrealistic. Come on, this isn't how we solve problems.
Well,
in the world.
I'm sorry, Hunter, but there are not people, like, I have ADHD. I was born with it. My dad had it. I am medicated for it. I personally
Can you stop with your identity politics, please, Lauren? Let's stick to the facts, shall we?
waited until I was out of high school. It takes at least a 6-month process to get the drugs for it because they are serious and have impact.
Literally, the APA
No one-
handbook for trans people is a minimum of 6 months of consistent gender dysphoria, right?
Hunter, if I had an option to desist, or like, if it was a possibility that I could desist from having ADHD, holy shit.
Yeah, but no one's desisting from having gender dysphoria, Lauren. That's not what that means, you fucking dishonest prick.
That would be amazing,
But
but that's not.
But we're not talking about that. Like,
You're-
again, when we
you're
look at
comparing apples and oranges.
no, I'm not.
No
when
one
we
is
when we look at
desisting from
the
having
studies,
ADHD.
when we look at the studies of people who have gender dysphoria, when we know that they're confirmed gender dysphoric, the majority of them go on to transition. I can send you other studies too of different.
No, the majority of kids go on to desist.
No, this is
No, that's not true, Lauren. People who go through gender dysphoria go on to transition, generally speaking.
based
Saying
on
my solution
referral
is
rates again, which is
untenable when
completely
we
flawed.
have mass amounts of people desisting.
That's not what that could mean that they were struggling with gender dysphoria and chose not to. You know, some of the like regret rate or desistance rate or whatever is also because of social stigma. So
Okay,
like I mean
so-
this doesn't make any sense. What you're saying right now is that it'd be better not to be gender dysphoric. So let's say, you know, your kid is showing some like strong
Yes,
signs of gender
and
incongruence.
I'm saying that
What would you really
blockers
just look them in the eye and be
prevent
like,
kids
yeah,
from
you
getting
should
to that
not
point of
have gender
desistance.
dysphoria? I mean, this is a ridiculous argument.
No.
Yeah, you should just choose. Like, you know, when you've got like you find a lump, say on your breast or your testicle, just choose to desist from having cancer. It's fine. It's fine. Just choose not to be ill. Would be my solution to the problem there. What's that? Broken leg? You can desist from broken bones too, please. Why are you deciding to impact society with your illness?
No, that's not what I'm saying. If someone continues on and they get past this point and they don't desist after puberty, which is very likely that they will, then we have to talk about other potential approaches. And I don't actually think, based on the very poor research that I've looked into, I don't think that transitioning medically actually helps in the way that you're suggesting it does.
Really? Is it purely
Yes.
because you were not satisfied with some of the sample sizes of the study?
No, because she has a preconceived idea in her head, and she's just doing confirmation bias. Anyway, this is a scale model Nazi cancellation device. True. Fucking true.
Please?
Well, no. Well, first of all, yes, there are some low sample size studies that show there is a minor correlation with positive life outcomes.
Minor correlation. This is just mealy-mouthed naysaying.
Which
There's
still,
not
that's
even any
all
studies
even
that
if we
show
were
a
just-
negative one, though.
Yeah.
There's not even any
No, the best studies we have show no cause at all. So why would we put children on drugs with very poor research when the best studies show us it has absolutely no impact
Where
at all?
you're correlating things that aren't correlated. You're equivocating things here. First of all, you're talking about a poor methodology of a study on general treatment like surgery and hormone therapy for adults, and you're comparing that to puberty blockers. Puberty blockers have been researched and studied. Like I said, they're confirmed by the FDA.
Yes,
They've
go
been
on,
used for
Hunter.
cis kids for decades.
He is awake.
These are two different
Yes,
things that you're talking
with
about right now.
extreme risks.
No,
okay,
not with
let's see.
extreme
Okay.
risks. Negligible risks that always are outweighed by the benefits. To have a better quality of life is a much better benefit to trade for a potential risk of like slightly
Okay, so
lower
let's,
bone
okay,
density.
let's talk about whether there is a benefit to life then. When there are
If there is a benefit to life, okay. No. Unless Lauren Southern is about to take the extreme anti-natalist position, I am going to say that she will have to concede that there is some value to life. Or benefit to life. If she is about to take the extreme natalist position, that would be hilarious, given that she has given birth. So, anti-natalist position, yeah. Given that she has literally produced a child. That would be very funny to me. That would be like some sort of existentialist anti-natalism. It would be weird and juxtapositional. You know what? I'm here for it.
Would you agree that when there are bad studies around whether medical transition works and good studies around whether medical transition works, we should look at the good studies?
Sure.
Are good things good and are bad things bad?
Have you heard of Brandstrom and Pachenkas?
I've not. Is this the Swedish one?
It is a Swedish study, and just so the audience are aware, we tend to like Scandinavian studies. They tend to have the best data sets because people there have very little freedom. They keep tabs on all the citizens. They do.
Citizens have very little freedom. What are you doing? What? Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh. She has the idea in her head, this Fox News idea that like Sweden's like a prison state or something because they've got healthcare and education. She's so full of shit.
Do annual consensus forums. They've got data on every person, which obviously is terrible for freedom, but it is excellent for data collection.
How is it terrible for freedom? How is anything happening there terrible for freedom? What are you talking about? This is the study. Long-term follow-up of transsexual persons. Nice. Undergoing sex reassignment surgery cohort study in Sweden. Oh, is this the one that's like obviously full of shit? Is this the one that's always cited by these gobshites and it's just nonsense?
So this is why people tend to like Scandinavian and Swedish studies over, you know, our 25 sample size university studies in America. And
oh yeah, because you know Sweden, that country with not that many people in it. What's the population of Sweden? $10 million. How many fucking trans people do you think are even in Sweden, Lauren? How many fucking trans people do you think even exist in Sweden in any given year that you could get information from? It's a nation of 10 million people.
Canada and so on. So, yeah, Brandstrom and Pachenkas 2019. Best study ever seen on gender transitioning medically. And this is both a combination of hormones, this is a combination of sex reassignment surgery. It's just the idea of trying to transition physically through medical process.
What did the study
find? Union of Soviet Swedish Republics. Yeah. Led by Joseph Stalbeck.
Sex.
That works. That joke
works.
works.
The study found that there was the same suicide rate, same anxiety rate, and same hospitalization rate with one of the biggest sample sizes we have ever done. 2,600 transgender
that
people
study,
with
just 'cause I'm curious?
a control group.
How many trans
absolutely.
people? How many trans people? 28?
2,600.
Oh, wow, 2,600. Shit. Okay. Yeah, if you could send that in to me, I'd be great.
Phenomenal sample size. Yeah.
So, I mean, you have a study that says, like, you know, there might be negligible differences, and there are other studies that says it really, you know, helps. So, again, if this is kind of if this is a reversible
when the data improves, when the data improves and shows that it's actually going in the other direction, you got to start.
So, because of this one study that she's citing that no one else has seen, apparently, that disproves all of the other evidence.
Asking yourself some questions when all the poor data that's from biased sources is showing.
She means Jews. She means Jews.
Oh yeah, it's all good, and then we have a better study that comes out and shows actually there's no effect.
Did you send it to me?
Start asking some questions. Yeah, let me get that.
Is it the Sage one?
Just opening it here.
I can also send you this. Speaking of 2,600, wait, is this from Nature?
The Swedish surveillance specialist with a partner.
No, this is a different one. Yeah, I mean, I can give you a cohort here, which is of 2,600 trans individuals also. They're able to draw some pretty significant conclusions about the effects of standard care. Hormone treatment seems to be safe with few side effects. The most common complaints from people are lower.
Did you just... Okay, can you send that to me?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, here we go. Naturally, the study she's citing. Fact check. Study shows transition makes trans people suicidal. Right. 2011 study proves that trans people are more suicidal due to transition, are likely rapists, and that trans women exhibit male socialization. Or does it? Obviously it doesn't. Fact checking the hyperbole. Is there just a summing up bit? There you have it. To be clear, no, the study does not show that medical transition results in suicide or suicidal ideation. The study explicitly states that such is not the case, and those using this study to make the claim are using fallacious logic. Lauren. No, the study does not prove that trans women are rapists or likely to be rapists. The male pattern of criminality found in 1973 to 88 cohort group was not a euphemism for rape. Lauren. No, the study does not prove that trans women exhibit male socialization. The male pattern of criminality found in the 77 to 83 cohort group was not a claim that trans women are convicted of the same type of crimes as cis men. So, surprise, surprise, Lauren Southern's a fascist liar. Who'd have thunk it?
Sure, this one comes from Nature.
Yep.
And then can you send me yours?
Yep.
Because I'm curious about it. Let's see. Wait, where's the...
I'll just take this little break to say, why not give me some bits and subscribe?
Hey guys, welcome to the Hunter and I Reading Through Studies stream. Welcome.
Welcome to the library, where we
here.
quietly are just we're just reading along. Hello, hi. Hold on, wait.
No yelling in the library. Everybody quiet.
Bits and subscribe.
Let me just. I'm gonna try to
bits
like
and
speed read through the
subscribe.
abstract here. So just give me a second.
Subscribe and bits and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the follow button, you dickheads. No, but seriously, hit the follow button. Yeah. Unless you already have, in which case that would just be unfollowing. So don't do that. Come on, guys. How much fucking time do I have to fill? This is supposed to be a debate. A follow would be cool. True. Are you feeling well enough for me to pitch the Ponzi crab rave? Yeah, absolutely. If you give 10 subs to the community, I'll do the Ponzi crab rave never-ending thing. Yeah. You haven't done the taxi. Oh, okay. Just flash your tits on stream. No. I won't do
I'm
that.
trying here to like just.
Hunter Avallone is an internet.
I mean,
person.
it looks like what this one study may have found is that there like wasn't that much of a difference. So again, I feel like we could literally make the same argument. What's better? A potential to have a better quality of life, which I would be happy, by the way, to send you this right here. Here's one from
No, the one you just sent me
This is from
isn't
Pediatrics.
a study. It's
That's a follow-up, and also
it's an
yours, by the way,
article with a
says
bunch
right
of
here that
YouTube
this was
videos.
the study used neither a prospective cohort design nor a randomized control trial design. The conclusion that the longitudinal association between gender-affirming surgery and lower use of mental health treatment lends support to the decision to provide gender-affirming surgeries to transgender individuals who seek them is too strong. Finally, although the percentage of individuals...
No, Hunter, you're wrong. The original didn't, but the correction did.
So
there was a correction to this article or to this study which came out and said, actually, we made a mistake. There is absolutely no difference. Gender-affirming surgery has no impact.
Okay, so I mean,
this is the question: is when the best study says it has no impact.
The best study. This is the best study because Sweden is communist and that's good.
Why would we put kids on? Why would we start people in transition processes that cost?
It's not starting. Puberty blockers are not starting any progress or process even. They're just allowing people time. Lauren.
Tons of money that in some cases people have died from gender transition surgery. People have literally gotten necrosis from it, and I know these are different things, hormones and gender affirming surgery, but even with hormones, like you said, there's risk to every medicine. There's risk to anything you can take, whether it be IQ.
IQ. Again, IQ. The bones. Thank you to Succubus Yuri with 100 bits. Nicely worked. The best study is the study that agrees with my preconceived notions. Absolutely correct.
Points, lowered bone density, cognitive issues like Lupron has shown in adults. Why would we give people a medicine that the only data we have is either good data saying it has no impact or bad data saying it has very low impact?
Because this
like,
one data point you brought me said there was like not really much of it.
What is this? What are the odds? From crack addict to CEO, Mike Lindell. Oh, why haven't I read this book already? That's amazing. From crack addict to CEO. Okay, I need to find that book. I'm not paying him though, so if you can find me a legal copy of that book, that'd be dope.
But
There's no objective gains. There's no objective
That's not
gains
true.
here.
There are countless other studies, including one I just sent you from Pediatrics, official journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics, that found a pretty strong association between access to pubertal suppression and suicide.
I know he'd written books and stuff, but I didn't know he'd called one From Crackhead to CEO. Fucking Christ. Hello. I can't read the writing there. Dawn Dud or something?
There's a significant inverse association between treatment with pubertal suppression during adolescence and lifetime suicidal ideation among transgender adults who ever wanted this
treatment. Well, that person was bad. I'm sorry I said hello.
These results align with past literature suggesting that pubertal suppression for transgender adolescents who want this treatment is associated with favorable mental health outcomes. So here's my real problem here, Lauren, is that there's a massive body of evidence on this subject. You can find some studies here and there that might say that didn't really make that much of a change. But again, you have to look at the overall positives and the overall benefits, right? And it seems that the positives here are a lower chance of suicide and furthermore, a practical effect here of just pausing.
Wait.
Yeah, if the best that Lauren Southern can do is this one study from Sweden says it makes no difference. Okay, well that doesn't mean anything, but there's lots and lots of evidence that suggests it does make quite a big positive difference. Cool, because like there's virtually no medical intervention where you can't find a study that says it's bad or something. So if the worst you can do is negligible difference, I say we go down that route because there's probably quite a lot good there, I would think. Yeah, exactly. No, I know. Even we went through someone linked me the article that like debunks the Swedish study. So I know it didn't literally say that anyway because she's lying. She's a fascist. That's what they do. But even if that's the best she can do, is to lie about one study and say it said no negligible difference, also no significant difference. And that's the best she can do, with a lie. Wow. I say we get everyone on hormone blockers now. Forced feminisation for everyone.
Wait. No. Because right now what you're showing is there's a massive body of really terribly done evidence that doesn't really show anything.
I sent you a meta-analysis. I sent you a systematic review, and that was only a couple of them. I can send you more. I didn't think that we were going to be going back and forth doing like the debate, bro, picking apart.
Well, that's because I'm not just going to believe everything you tell me about a study.
Oh, well, that's different, because you're expecting me to do that, dickhead. Lauren, you say Lauren's not going to come on my show now, but we actually had arranged ages ago, back before anyone knew who the fuck she was. Back before I knew who she was, we were going to have a talk in like 2016, 15, something like that. Didn't end up happening in the end, but there we go.
Study, because unfortunately I was just in a debate with Xander Hall where he debunked a study I told him, and it was the entirely...
Debunked? Did she say debunked?
Because unfortunately I was just in a debate with Xander Hall where he debunked a study...
Debunked? Debunked? Is that Canadianism? Debunked. Oh, debunked. Oh, I'm so childish.
study, I told him, and it was the entirely wrong study because it seems like a lot of guys
I'm familiar
just
with what
use
study
documents.
that was. I'm familiar
A lot
with
of people just use documents and haven't actually read the studies. They don't know what the actual data
the study
analysis
that
was.
you
They
sent.
don't
Hold
even
on, the study
understand how
that
they
you
were
sent
done.
the study that you sent Xanderhall, the Swedish.
I can't listen to this. I'm still thinking about debunked. I've never ever heard it pronounced that way before. Oh,
Study, like, you didn't read that study either. I know you didn't, because the study didn't prove what you thought it proved. Sometimes people
Of course
don't
I
read
didn't.
studies.
So that's
Sometimes
why
it gets
I'm
silly.
taking
Whatever.
It a little more
The main
serious
issue.
than just believing random
The,
people
the
on
main
the
issue that
internet,
I
because
have here.
know
The main
we're
issue.
not all reading the studies.
The main issue that I have here is that there is enough evidence to suggest that puberty blockers are largely safe and lower
it's an alt-right meme, is it? Oh, that's
the chance of
doesn't
suicide
surprise me.
later
No,
on down
there
the line.
isn't.
Hold on,
Hunter,
and
the
furthermore,
only
hold on,
thing you
wait,
have
wait. Can
provided
I,
me
can-
is terrible evidence, and the best evidence that we have discussed, Brandstrom and Pachenkis, said there was no effect.
this
So this study right now, the one you just sent me, don't pivot from this because you just threw the study at me and you're not letting me ask questions about it, which is not fair.
Okay, go ahead, ask questions.
Pubertal suppression for transgender youth and risk of suicide ideation. What was the sample size in this study? Like, these are important things. What was the sample size? You know,
of them 2.5% receive pubertal suppression. Variables. Let's see. Using a cross-sectional survey of 20. Holy shit! Am I reading that number correctly? 20,619 transgender adults, aged 18 to 36-year-old. Okay, yeah. I mean, when it comes to 20,000. When it
you're
comes
telling me they used a sample size of 20,000.
when it comes to social sciences, you have to work with what you have. What you're doing is really just trying to poke holes here. And my problem is that you say that you care about transgender people, and I genuinely do believe that, but it
No, you don't. Stop it.
kind of comes across as a virtue signal when you say you care about trans people, but then you're against the treatment for trans people, and then you're desperately like trying to like grab these like one-off studies that kind of might suggest that like there's not actually that much of improvement or whatever to try and argue against this. It seems like you have an underlying agenda a little bit.
Hunter, just because you have a lot of bad studies with bad data doesn't make any
See, now she's definitely asserting now it's just bad studies. Only bad studies disagree with me. Oh, she's such a dishonest cunt. Really, she is.
anything you say true.
Not
And
all
this,
of them
this
are bad
matters.
studies.
You
When it
are,
comes to
you
social
are, no, they are. The one you
Yes.
just brought up was an online survey. And
When it
the
comes
fact
to
that-
social, hold on, when it comes to social sciences, you have to work with what you have here.
Of course.
So
But
yes,
you
of
just
course,
brought
the
up-
way you're going to
trying
determine if their
make
health
a
is better is by a
definitive-
survey. A sample size of 20,000.
You just okay. Listen, Hunter, you're poisoning the well here by saying I'm just virtue signaling when I ask really genuine questions.
No, they're not genuine questions. You're lying, Lauren. He's being very, very diplomatic in his wording. I'll just say it. You're lying. You don't care about trans people. You're garbage.
About the fact that these studies don't seem to
Remember,
prove
this was the fun bit of tonight's show. Fuck me. Oh, why does anyone watch this?
anything based on the researchers' analysis of them as well. Most of the studies you've sent me, the researchers have said themselves it's very low quality data.
Because
very
we
low
have to
quality
work
data
with what
that
we have.
rarely skews right. And actually, you know what, Hunter, this is something I really agree with you on. I think there is a severe problem with the research around transgender issues and gender dysphoric issues. And most researchers agree with this. There are a lot of people out here, like I was just reading a Mike article about doctors treating trans youth that are grappling with uncertainty and lack of training. They don't know when they should prescribe something or
So, you see, even the doctors, who, by the way, don't agree with Lauren Southern whatsoever, they're saying a thing that agrees with me, or something. What?
not prescribe something.
This is a kind of, this is sort of a subset of the.
Also, I like the fact that she was like, you can't trust these studies, but you can trust this random anecdote of a Mike article. Yeah, high quality research from the Lauren Southern Institute of Fascist Nonsense.
Underlying issue though here, right? Like the problem that I have really is that people are suffering right now. People are dealing with gender dysphoria right now, and so are kids. And your solution seems to be very sort of like, kind of like blasé, sort of like, well, let's just wait till sometime data comes along that might suggest, like, we have studies, we have data, the FDA has approved puberty blockers for cis kids since the 80s. This seems to be working based on the huge study I just gave you with over 20,000.
The FDA approved Vioxx, which killed 60,000 people.
So
and this is why
what?
when people say, oh, the social sciences have bad data, I guess that's okay. No, it's not okay. And here's the biggest
It's not
issue.
okay, and it's not just bad data.
With the Vioxx...
This is just undermining all of science now. She's just trying to she's just doing the anti-intellectual thing, which is the whole core of the kind of fascist bullshit ideology, because they know that the science doesn't agree with them, so just discredit science. It's their equivalent of just doing fake news. Just shout fake news at a thing you don't like. Do you think you'd have the patience to go back and forth with her or someone like her? I already did. This is no different than when I talked to Mel about the Chinese genocide. This is exactly the same. There's no evidence you could provide these people that would be enough, because they have no interest in changing their mind. They're not capable of changing their mind based on data, because they didn't make their mind up according to any data. They have a preconceived idea based on an initial ideology. That's all that matters to them. In Lauren Southern's case, she's a fascist piece of trash. She can try and do the whole, oh no, I'm just a conservative. No, she's a fascist. She's always going to be a fascist. That's what she is. And so she's got this thing in her head that trans people are degenerate, and therefore no amount of actual evidence of like how actually this is really helpful for trans people will ever get past it. Because ultimately, she doesn't actually care about trans people. She would happily put you all in a fucking concentration camp, along with leftists like me. So we'll have a party or some shit, right? But, so she doesn't care about that. She's not interested in medically helping trans people, because she thinks they're all disgusting. That's it. That's the only thing that matters to Lauren Southern. So no amount of data is ever going to get through to her. It's sort of pointless in a way, other than to show what load of shit they're talking. I think that can be actually quite useful. Yeah, I have a much higher tolerance for nonsense. That's why I do the show that I do. A lot of people couldn't do that. They couldn't do what I do. Not because it's necessarily very difficult, but it's just horrible. Oh my god. Where the fuck are you, Maria? Because this is madness. Can you see? I don't know if you can see that. It says ISIS hunting permit. And then guns and coffee. We the people, and then there's the Blue Lives Matter, which noticeably is above the American flag. Nice. Then there's the Punisher logo. Oh my god. Oh, I feel fucking dirty just having seen it. You're in Georgia. Okay. The state that just elected a black guy and a Jew. It can't possibly be the real Georgia. You must be talking about the nation in the Caucasus Mountains. You must be. She's in the parking lot of Hobby Lobby. Oh no. Oh no.
Case, there was a whistleblower, there was a doctor who tried to talk about this. He kept trying to tell people there are serious issues with this, we need to talk about this, and he kept getting covered up and muffled by the FDA.
Oh, here we go. So it's just, again, another anecdote. The FDA can't be trusted. She's just full of shit.
And other organizations. And I think one of the big issues we have with gathering data on how to help transgender people best and what the best approaches are is people are not allowed to do research with the openness they would like to.
That's, again, she's just doing the weird fucking Nazi talking point. We aren't allowed to do our weird race science in universities. Therefore, we're being silenced by the evil transgender agenda. The trans agenda, if you will.
This is a level of conspiracism I'm not planning on. No, this is a level of conspiracism.
What do you mean a level of conspiracism?
This is you're saying that now the reason that the data tends to side with my position is because there's some kind of this LGBT conspiracy that they're not allowed to share studies.
When did I say that? Hunter.
That's what you were just getting at. One of the most common studies cited by conservatives, including you in the Xander Hall debate, was the Swedish study. People are not being shushed or hushed. I mean, you just sent me this massive study that you claimed prove your point. Who's being silenced for coming out with data that contradicts the trans ideology or whatever?
Hunter, It is a fact that 1 in 4 social psychologists will reject someone that they think has socially conservative views
Good. You shouldn't be allowed anywhere near people. You're anti-human scum. Fuck you.
from getting a grant application. It is a fact that 1 in 3 hiring divisions will reject people they think might have conservative views in life
Good.
from going into
Good. Yeah. You mean harm upon people. So good, you shouldn't be allowed in social sciences.
social sciences divisions. We know this. There is very good data on discrimination against people with more conservative politics. Which
Also, I'm almost certain the numbers she's giving here are total nonsense. But even if they were true, good. Conservatives mean harm upon largely marginalised people, but upon society in general. They shouldn't be allowed in social sciences. They shouldn't be allowed there because they're not there to do any genuine research. They're there to try and back up their bigoted fuckery.
do tend to be politics that question affirmation surgery, that question hormone blockers. Why would anyone in their right mind
Again, you're not questioning these things. You're denying them. Okay? In the same way that a 9/11 truther isn't just asking questions. Because when you then provide them with the answer to those questions, they ignore it or tell you that you're part of a CIA conspiracy to kill Americans or something, or you're a Muslim. Whatever. Who cares? You're not just asking questions. You're denying reality. Hunter's had to go to his calm space. He has to just go to his calm, chill spot in his head. Just get into a zen little state just to try and make it through. We're nearly there.
trying to forward their academic career do studies or come out with data that suggests that the popular narrative around transgenderism might not be the right approach.
Yeah, see, this is what I mean. The popular narrative or whatever. Like, what do you mean when you say the narrative? What does that mean?
What do I mean when I say
What's
the narrative?
the transgender narrative?
As you have said, the FDA have approved hormone blockers. This is becoming it's a very sad thing. It's unfortunate that we are having this issue politicized right now. And I think it's horrible when it's politicized from either side. I don't want the sciences or medicine.
Yes, you do. You're literally saying, I want conservatives to go in there and do conservative science. Yes, you are literally saying that.
Politicized, whether it be from a right-wing conservative Christian view or from a progressive view, but we do have politicized medicine right now.
No, we don't. It's just that the scientific consensus disagrees with you, so you're just going to pretend that, oh, well, it's the science that's wrong. They've politicized it. What? What are you talking about?
For example, when I changed my gender in Ontario. When I went into the doctor's office and said, I am a man, the doctor told me, well, I guess I can't deny your lived experience, because she wasn't about to sit there and argue with me about it. There was absolutely no medicine involved.
I'm not really
there
too...
was no actual...
Yeah, well, yeah, because you decided to play silly with it. But most people who do that, most people who go in there and say, I am X, are X, because that's how that works. You decided to be weird. Yeah, she legally changed her gender to male in Ontario, and did a whole thing where she was like, "Oh look, I'm a man," but it didn't make any difference because when it actually came down to time when she needed actual medical help, she didn't say she was a man anymore. So like that's not how transgender people like live. That's not how that works, Lauren. You being a transphobic shitbag in a stunt 5 years ago means nothing. Literally nothing.
actual science.
I know. I remember the video. I remember
ridiculous.
that. It was. I remember that. I
ridiculous.
remember that little stunt. I do remember it. But I think that's kind of overall getting off subject here.
No,
I think
it's
that
not.
if we're
It's
talking,
very on subject.
we're not really talking about like this transgender narrative here. What you've basically told me is that because sometimes people with conservative views have a harder time, like, I don't know, getting grants or whatever, that means that these studies are all biased in favor of trans people? I mean, excuse me, but like this is obviously getting into levels of conspiracism.
It's not a conspiracy. There are people that have been fired from Dr. Makareth, fired from the NHS, Lisa Littman, who...
Yeah, there have been several doctors who've been fired for malpractice because they treated trans people really, really badly. Yeah, that is true. That is true, yes. Good.
got in trouble with her university. I admit her study wasn't very good, but that wasn't why she got in trouble. She got in trouble for being against the popular narrative. You can't say
Sure,
it's
The popular narrative. The trans mafia are just everywhere, aren't they?
conspiracy
I
when we
think
know
that we
this is
could-
happening.
Is it any note that TMA, trans mafia, is the Tiny Monkey Army the tip of the spear of the trans mafia? I can't possibly say at this point, but you know, I just say, look, it's been reported. I can't say 100% conclusively. All I'm saying is I'm hearing out there on the streets it might be. So you know.
You can't say it's conspiracy. That would you agree at least?
I would
that
be willing to have
there is discrimination against conservatives in
No, but there should be.
academia.
I would
don't think we need a
definitely be
rocket
willing to
scientist
say,
prove this.
I will definitely agree with you in that data should not be politicized. If we want more
good.
people who have conservative beliefs that want to do some data on this, fine, let it happen. That's, you know what, I'll go ahead and concede that for sure. Yeah, of course, I don't want data collection to be politicized. But right now, the data that we have available makes it pretty clear what the best route for people
Hunter,
with
it
gender
doesn't make
dysphoria
it-
is.
It does not make it very clear. It's all very poor research with a
The ones that disagree with me are all poor research. That's totally not a non-falsifiable position coming from a position of absolute faith. No! I'm the science.
mixed match of results, some of which saying, the best of which saying,
You're saying it's the best of which only
there's
because
no
it's the study
impact.
that proves your point. Second of all,
And it doesn't
the-
prove her point. She lied about it, and even then, the best she could do was say it made no difference at all. And she had to lie to get to that position.
multiple different studies I've sent you, some might have not had the most ideal sample size or whatever. That's not an argument. The body of research, the peer-reviewed research, the meta-analyses, all point to the same
the
conclusion. And
systemic-
somehow, hold on, if I could just finish
systematic
here.
reviews that you
And
think are
somehow, Lauren,
meta-analyses.
you're telling me that you know more than all of these medical professionals.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Yes, you are. Yes, you fucking are. She's just asking questions. I'm not saying I know more than the medical scientists, but I'm just going to disagree with all of the medical scientists.
I'm saying we don't know much. The studies are all bad, and therefore we shouldn't make guinea pigs out of children.
So
but
just
all
keep looking until you find the answer I want. And it's all political until we get that answer. That's totally intellectually honest. Yeah.
we have is poor research.
This is what I mean. Is like how are we making guinea pigs out of children? Was the FDA making guinea pigs out of children when they were giving them puberty blockers back in the 80s for precocious puberty?
Perhaps. It seems like there needs to be a
Fuck off. She's just on another level, man. She's so full of shit.
lot of research in there because it's a 7-point IQ gap is huge.
Well, IQ means nothing, so I mean, I don't know why you keep bringing that up. Oh yeah, you're a Nazi. Sorry.
But seriously, even then, I would say abundance of caution. I'm not the one that's trying to radically change medicine here. I'm not the one that's trying to radically change. And here's the thing.
No one's trying to radically change medicine. What are you talking about? You literally heard him say that this has been used since the 80s. So how is it a radical change of anything?
Thing too, if there were better research, if there were better data saying absolutely this is what is helping people 100%, we know
And there's definitely 100%, right? 100%. If larger sample sizes and better methodology were used, Lauren would accept that evidence. She wouldn't just dismiss that for another completely non-contingent reason. No. No, she would definitely accept that because she's intellectually honest and she really cares about trans people. Fuck off.
we probably would not be having this debate right now, but there isn't, Hunter.
But those are
And what
impossible standards that
I
you're
think
setting.
what-
There's never going to be
no,
any
it's not
study that says
impossible
anything is
standards.
100, nothing is ever going to be
No,
100%.
I'm not asking, Hunter, I'm not asking for 100%. I'm asking for data that isn't sample sizes of 20 people from internet surveys.
Yeah, and he gave you one that was massive and you dismissed it because you're not interested in hearing the truth.
I'm asking for data that isn't self-described by the researchers as extremely low quality. And
I
we
provided
do
you
know
the one with the
social sciences,
20,000 transgender people, but
It does not have 20,000 transgender people, Hunter. It had 89. Like, I don't
using a
know
cross-sectional
what you're
survey of
talking
20. Wait, am I? Hold on. I'm talking about this pediatrics official journal, the American Academy of Pediatrics. Am I looking at the wrong thing, or are we talking about something different?
Okay,
I think we might be talking about something
I
different.
No, I'm 99% sure that did not have a sample size of 20,000.
You know what? If it doesn't, I mean, it's using a cross-sectional survey of 20.
Which all this tells me is you do not know the research well.
Hold on,
enough
I'm
to
not.
be
Hold on,
making such
Lauren. Lauren, I'm
assertions.
not a.
Well, hang on. You said at the start you're not an expert in this at all, but you're prepared to like go against all of the medical research. Okay.
Hold on, I'm not a
Yeah, so
sociologist.
the study had
Hold on,
89 people who actually went through puberty suppression.
I'm not a sociologist.
20,000 who did the survey online, 89 of which had actually even gone through puberty suppression.
Where are you seeing this?
So what a sample size. What a sample size.
I mean, you provided one study that was like some one-off study compared to the, again, body of research. Also, I'm not
Hunter,
really sure.
I'm not
Hold on,
the
hold on.
one
I'm not even.
trying to
I'm not even
change
sure if
things
you're looking at the
radically.
same article that I'm looking at here. Second of all, I mean, this just seems really convenient for you to kind of write off the data, write off the facts that kind of are inconvenient for your beliefs. For what though? Like, I don't understand how you can rectify, I guess, saying that you care about transgender people, but then like opposing what seems to work. You can complain about the sample sizes or all you want. I've already explained the complications there when it comes to social sciences. At the best thing you could provide me was a study that said like the difference was like negligible. Okay, so what's the bit like possibly having a better quality of life,
Hunter,
not
you
committing
haven't
suicide.
even read the study you just cited. You thought 20,000 transgender people were in it. You just admitted you're not a sociologist, so why are you defending
you?
the data?
Are you?
No, I'm
Well, yeah, no, exactly. But you're defending your data. Oh, debunked yourself, you twat.
not.
So
I'm
then
the one
what
that's
does that
saying
have
these
to-
seem
that
like
has
a
no
whole
relevance here.
Heck of a lot of bad studies that you haven't read and I haven't read fully.
Lauren, we've both
I
been
care-
sent. Hold on,
okay,
we've
I
both.
care
Come on,
about
this
this
is
for
this
the
is.
same
You
reason
know
I
that this
care
is
about
uncharitable. You're
anorexic
being
people,
Hold on, if I could just
who-
finish
and
really
I
quickly
don't
here.
support
You're
cutting-
being
cutting their
uncharitable. We
stomachs
were
down
both
because
sent.
they believe that.
We've both been sending studies back and forth. Okay. Second of all, I know because I watched the Xander Hall debate when you have cited studies before that you yourself haven't read either. Let's
Right,
not
and
get
that was
so
dumb of me, clearly.
Let's not
that
get
was
super.
really dumb of me.
And it was also kind of a bad article, but that is also aside the point. So, I mean, it like I'm not sure if we're going to be able to, I guess, rectify this. Your general conclusion then is that people should just stop having gender dysphoria. I'm not sure how that would be.
That's not my conclusion. Just because I oppose a bad solution with bad research doesn't mean I have
It's not a bad solution. It's not bad research. Lawrence Southern is a liar.
all the solutions. And this is once again why I think we need more research into the subject. This is why
No, but your thing of doing nothing is the null hypothesis is ridiculous and backward. Medical science has moved beyond doing nothing or just having leeches or something, Lauren. I know you're annoyed that modernity exists and that science contradicts your hateful bullshit, but, you know, tough.
I think we need to allow for more freedom of discussion around this subject. There are
Freedom of discussion. Now, we already have freedom of discussion, obviously. But what Lauren means is, I've said some transphobic things and trans people were mean to me online about it. That's what she means.
academics that are even left-wing that are saying, oh my goodness, we are terrified to talk about this issue honestly because we don't know
Anecdotes from people who don't exist are totally believable. I am convinced now.
if we're going to get fired. We don't know if we're going to be
This just sounds like a
canceled by
really
campuses.
convenient excuse for why there's not more data that supports the anti-transgender narrative.
Would you not agree? No. If it ends up being good, I hope you understand. When I went into researching this stuff,
Now, IQ tests basically test education, don't they? Can you pass tests well? Which would mean that someone in STEM would likely have a high IQ, yes. Because they're generally pretty well educated, because, you know, you sort of have to be. But that doesn't mean they're more intelligent than anyone else. There are some people who work in these incredibly intricate fields who are really, really good at one particular thing, but are dense as fuck about everything else. There are some scientists who you wouldn't trust to fucking tie their shoelaces. Because they're really, really good at that one specialism that they've got. They know everything about it. But then you ask them about anything else and they've got nothing. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not like intelligence, is it? What is a TIFF? Good question.
I was entirely open, and this is what I tried to do with debates. I sat here and I was like, okay, I have to be willing to accept that maybe Hunter is right. Maybe these therapies and treatments are absolutely the best option for children. Let's look at the research. Oh my goodness, this is the worst research I've ever seen in my life. And
Lauren would know because she reads a lot of research, except the studies she provides for some reason. Curious.
you know, I don't get how you can sit here and acknowledge that what I did in the Xander Hall debate, bringing up a study I had not read, did not know the details of, was stupid, and you've spent this whole debate doing the exact same thing.
No,
if you can
this
recognize
because
why are you speaking with such certainty on this issue?
Because it's not just, first of all, because it's not just one study. There are multiple different studies, and I'm going to keep on saying it. You can complain about the sample size all you want. You've provided me one study that showed, like, maybe there's not as much
Oh, by the way, no, Gray, you don't want to be. That's... Bless you. TIFF, trans-identifying female, that's not what that meme is. It comes from a Mike from PA bit, where he was screaming, "What's a TIFF? What's a TIFF?" No, but he meant it's a different thing. It's like something finance. It's like a economics thing. So when we were saying what's a TIFF, it had nothing to do with whatever that TERF acronym thing is about. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm with you. Tax increment finance. There we go. Is that different to a trans-identifying female? I feel like they're the same thing. Obviously, they're not the same thing.
Positive outcomes after all, which again doesn't even necessarily mean that like puberty blockers ultimately aren't the better move if because there's also been studies that have shown the complete opposite, right? So I don't really think that you can just complain about the sample size. It sounds to me like you're kind of trying to have your cake and eat it too. You're able to get up here and talk about how tragic it is for trans people and how sad you are that they're struggling, but then you're also able to argue against what seems to be the treatment right now. I agree. I would like for there to be better data. I would like for there to be better, more in-depth studies. But you know what? Not less than ideal data proving one thing versus nothing is better still. And again, puberty blockers have been studied for years. So
no, it's not. It's not better. And you know, the brand.
And if I just say it's not better, even though I've got nothing that says it's not better, that means I win. Yeah, science.
Trauma-Pachenka study is not a one-off study. There are a ton of studies on this that you haven't read, and it's literally the only study with
there
a
are
large...
tons. I haven't mentioned any of them. I haven't linked you to any of them, but they definitely exist. There are loads of studies which back up my argument. So checkmate, liberals.
National representative sample size and a proper control group. So why would we not go off of that study instead of a bunch of small, poorly done studies? And it's also not just sample sizes that I'm complaining
Lauren's
about.
full of
It's
shit.
the sampling method. It's the statistical bias. There are a heap of issues with the studies you have presented. Also, this is the thing. My general conclusion, I'm not saying don't help people with gender dysphoria. I'm not saying...
Yeah, but you mean help them in the same way that you help a dog into euthanizing him or something, don't you, Lauren? That's what you mean when you say helping them.
Don't give them therapy. Don't try to work things out. And when they're an adult, they can make decisions that they like. I'm not saying that. I am saying that as long as we have really poor data on something, and the best data we have says it has no difference, no effect.
But that's not true, Lauren. You can assert it as much as you like. It doesn't mean it's true.
And the thing may stop kids from desisting, which is the absolute most beneficial option for them to not have to deal with gender dysphoria at all. Actually, everything weighs on the side of it being more beneficial to not give children hormone treatment.
That's incorrect, because we can literally...
It's either no effect at all, or...
Yeah, no one of worth takes her seriously. No. That's why she's on Sky News Australia. Yeah.
It stops them from desisting, because they don't go through puberty. So everything leans on the side of being beneficial to...
Everything. Everything leans on the side of being beneficial. Everything. You heard her? Everything. I swear to God, she's going to give me a brain aneurysm. Thank you, Lihua13, with 245 bits. A suspiciously specific number. And they did a unicorn cock meme. Always welcome.
To not giving kids hormone blockers. And this doesn't mean I don't think adults should be able to do what they want. They should, but the data you're showing me, the only good
puberty
data...
blockers-
Well, no, I actually disagree with Lauren. Like, which is not surprising, I suppose. But even from her perspective, right, she thinks that basically trans people don't really exist, they're just pretending. Or whatever. And so she's saying, when they become adults, they can do it. Whereas in that situation, if it were true, and obviously it isn't, if it were true that trans people were just pretending to be trans because it's a social fad, blah, 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 I wouldn't be okay with them going through with the process of surgery, because that wouldn't be a real thing. That would be a medically dangerous procedure being done for no reason. Am I totally static? No, I'm moving, aren't I? The amazing, totally static Kev. Am I static? Or is the video going? Hello? No, the cam's good. Oh, I don't know what you're on about then, Zero. God damn it. Anyway. Yeah. If they were lying, if they were all transgenders, I wouldn't be okay with them going through with surgery, because that's a waste of medical, like, room or whatever, or resources on something that wouldn't matter, and it would be medically dangerous because it's an invasive surgery, obviously, right? When you have gender affirming surgery, so I wouldn't be okay with that. But the thing is, they're not pretending; it is real, and so going through with that medical procedure is entirely necessary. Yeah. What about bodily autonomy? Well, that comes with caveats, doesn't it? If someone wants to have both of their legs removed for no reason, you walk into the doctor and say, or walk into the hospital and say, "Can you just cut off both my legs?" No one does that. No doctor would ever do that. That would be incredibly medically unnecessary and immoral. Unethical is the word I'm looking for.
We're gonna fight 'em all.
So yeah,
A tiny monkey army couldn't hold me back.
So bodily autonomy is fine. Like, I'm okay in general with stuff, but when it comes to elective surgeries, like, there are some plastic surgeries which can have psychological impacts and stuff. That's fine, but you couldn't just like go in there and say, "Oh, chop my left arm off." No, there's no reason to do that. That's an incredibly medically dangerous thing. It's going to cost money and take up time of a surgeon who could be doing something useful, or enjoying some downtime so they don't get too stressed about shit, so that then they can then be more proficient at surgery later. So there are legitimate reasons why, even if you wanted a medical procedure, you shouldn't be given that medical procedure. Like, you can't just walk into a plastic surgeon and say, "Do X, Y, and Z." There has to be a reason for the thing, right? Or there are limitations placed on it, and understandably so. But yeah. There are people who experience dysphoria because they have limbs they don't want. What about them? Is that really a thing? I don't know enough about that, 255. If that is such a thing, then, I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I genuinely haven't thought about it, to be honest, so I can't give you an opinion on that. In theory, there could be some such thing, and that's okay. That's certainly worth discussing. But in general, if people just decide they want a thing, that's not good enough to that wouldn't be good enough in of itself to just warrant it. But anyway, the point basically is, I was doing a hypothetical there. The point is, trans people aren't just making it up. They're not just doing it. Look, her mask slipped earlier when she was going on about it being a social fad. Basically, she thinks trans people are lying. That trans people aren't really trans. They're just doing it for the social cachet of the thing or whatever. Which is obviously not fucking true. And so the fact that they then go and get surgery or hormone blockers or whatever particular medical thing is fine, because that's a medical issue. That's what doctors are there to do. Deal with medical problems. Yes, it's a thing. Bodily integrity dysphoria. Oh, I didn't know that. I'd have to look more into it. I don't really know enough about it, to be honest. But yeah. if a boob job for non-cancer patients should be banned. Do you mean like a mastectomy when they take the boobs away? For non-cancer patients. Well, like a breast reduction is one thing, but if you mean like a full mastectomy, I'm not sure that would be okay, to be honest. No, unless, like I say, there are instances where they can cut it out because they know that you're likely to have to develop cancer and stuff. You've got a higher propensity for cancer, so they have a mastectomy to essentially get ahead of the curve or whatever. Cis lesbians occasionally literally don't want boobs. Well, again, would that fall under the body dysphoria thing? There are some cosmetic surgeries that are absolutely fine, yeah. But when it comes to elective surgeries like plastic surgeries, I think there should be some, or like removal of body parts or whatever. That becomes medically, ethically difficult because doctors are there to like treat sick people rather than fuck around with the whims of people, if that makes sense. Association between gender-affirming surgeries and mental health outcomes. Oh yeah, look. Way with historian, you don't need to. There's no need to prove to me anything about like the fact that getting surgery for trans people is enormously powerful in terms of positive outcomes for their mental health. Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the main reasons I'm like for it, because it literally helps them from fucking topping themselves and stuff, which is super dope. Thank you to Move On Jenkins with 300 bits, who get 3 unicorn cock emotes, which is always welcome. Always.
Are
Is
for
the one
kids,
saying
right?
there's no effect.
But puberty blockers are going to obviously be for kids, right? So like,
well, like there are medical reasons for like a boob reduction can be because of back problems, for instance. Like there can be a legitimate medical reason why one would have a breast reduction, but getting rid of it completely, that seems like quite a drastic thing. And you've got to bear in mind stresses and strains on the healthcare system as it is. Now that doesn't mean we should basically fund the medical system better, obviously. But the point is, whilst there are constraints on it, I think we should try and avoid as much unnecessary elective surgery. Whereas like trans surgery for me is not really elective surgery because there's a medical need for it. A breast reduction is not medical. It's not. Top surgery isn't mastectomy technically, right? I don't know. Is it? I thought it basically kind of was, but I don't know enough about it. I genuinely don't know enough about it. What if they're willing to pay for it out of pocket? Again, there are limits on that. There are some things that I don't think it would be medically ethical for them to do, regardless of money. It's not. They leave some fat. Oh, do they? Okay. Oh, yeah. I suppose you'd have to. Yeah, because you've like male breasts are still a thing, right? You still have like there's some substance there. So I think you'd have to. Yeah. Bit different because the goal is a male-looking chest. Yeah, which is still there's still a bit of tit there on a man. There's a bit of tit. Like men can get breast cancer. It's less likely because there's less mass there, but yeah, less muscle tissue, I should say. Someone just said surgery. Okay. Someone better have clipped groping his own tits. There we go. We're back in the Logan wheelhouse.
obviously,
Yes.
so obviously puberty blockers are gonna be. Like when you say you're fine with people doing it when they're an adult, I mean, the problem is if you are gender dysphoric and you go through the wrong puberty, that one raises your chance of committing suicide later on in life.
Oh yeah, 8DX man, don't for a second think I was in any way comparing elective surgery with banning trans healthcare or anything like that. No. That's, yeah. I was doing like a hypothetical, if someone wanted to cut a leg off type nonsense. I was doing a thought experiment based on medical ethics. Trans healthcare is not elective surgery. Trans healthcare is essential, as any other kind of, healthcare. I don't get why people are okay with assisted suicide but not dangerous surgery. Well, the difference being that it's the argument would be that with assisted suicide, that is the ethical thing, because you're taking the pain away from someone who doesn't have quality of life anymore. Whereas dangerous surgery, you're putting a healthy person unnecessarily in danger in a way that could be, detrimental to their health for no real reason. Whereas assisted suicide is like the medically ethical thing to do, given if someone's in such a bad place that realistically there's no chance of them ever having quality of life again, the medically ethical thing to do, I think, would be to give release to that person from the pain of their existence. I'd certainly want that. I've said before, if I ever get into like a vegetative state, just put a fucking pillow over my face. I don't care. Like, I don't want to live like that. I wouldn't want to be that person. Not only just on a basic level that I wouldn't enjoy that experience, obviously, although I wouldn't, if vegetative you wouldn't really know, but there are all kinds of other like degenerative disorders and things. But I wouldn't want to be a burden on any motherfucker as well. I wouldn't want to like be a person who someone else has to like clean the shit up off for. Like, I don't want to do that. Let's not encourage angels of death. Oh no. Look, this is the thing, right? There is a significant difference between what is my ethical belief and what I think is practicable given human constraints, right? So writing legislation to try and allow for assisted suicide is very dangerous, because the potential loopholes that allow evil people to do evil things and potentially be legal under the law is it's difficult. It's a difficult process to go through. Some countries have, and I'm sure there are issues if you were to look into it. So I'm in favour in general of assisted suicide, but I understand that in terms of legislation it would be difficult to get like completely correct. You'd have to really, really consider that legislation very, very stringently. Yeah. Anyway, I wasn't planning on a medical ethics discussion tonight, to be honest. Yeah. That's not usually the Logan kind of wheelhouse, Only people who can prove they're sufficiently in pain should be legal in their lives. Not necessarily, no. I think there are potentials for like. I've seen a couple of people go via not Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, who've died of Alzheimer's, and their degeneration was genuinely horrific. It was one of the most haunting and sad things I've ever seen, to see fully active-minded, able-bodied, outgoing, brilliant people turn into... I don't know how to describe it in any politically correct way. They're not themselves. They're not that person anymore. They're just a husk of a human being, basically, most days, toward the end. It was fucking appalling to experience, right? So I can understand if someone in the early stages of Alzheimer's who still has it together says, once it gets to X stage of the process, kill me, end that pain, because I know from looking at Alzheimer's where that leads, and I don't want to become that, and I don't want to be a burden on the family around me. So I'm now of sound mind at this stage in the process. I'm saying once I get to this level of degeneration, I want to be taken away from that pain. I could understand that. I could perfectly well understand that. Now again, there has to be safeguards in place, legally speaking. But I understand where that... Look, I'm sort of on board with that. It seems like the right thing to do. Yeah, it's dark, man. Like, life and death is a tragic thing. Yeah. You have two people that want to end their lives, one able-bodied, one differently abled. Why does the differently abled one have to prove that they have no quality of life, but the able-bodied one doesn't? Why does the differently abled one have to prove they have no quality of life, but the able one doesn't? I don't understand that dichotomy. Why Are you saying that's currently the situation? Why is that way? Because in my situation, that wouldn't be the case. In my situation, if someone's physically disabled, that wouldn't impact their ability to mentally make that decision for themselves. Yeah, a physical disability wouldn't stop someone from being able to mentally make the decision, I want to end this pain. If someone's mentally disabled in some way, that then brings up a genuinely fucked up situation where can they be of sound enough mind to make that decision? And is someone else in control of them? Are you able to make that decision for someone else? Then you get into really dodgy medical territory and legal territory. Hot take, everyone has the right to seek medical euthanasia without means testing. Well, without means testing in terms of cost, yeah, absolutely. Is that what you mean? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's try and get through this. There's only like 10 minutes left.
And it also is a
11
practical thing. It makes it harder to pursue further transition. The puberty blocker seems like a pretty simple, middle of the ground approach.
Well, no, cost shouldn't be a barrier. That is true. I will agree with you there, Proto. But in terms of barriers to entry, I think there has to be some level of, checking on this. There has to be some legal protections for people, because you can understand there would be situations where one might be pressured by, say, like a greedy person who knows they're going to get your money in the will. Or something, or just by someone who, like a person who hates you, or something, like a spouse that hates you, which would basically be then legalised murder. So there has to be some barriers to entry at some point, I think. Some legal, safety nets. You see what I mean? Look, I'm not trying to put up barriers to try and stop someone accessing it. I'm trying to protect innocent people from being fucked over by evil people, which is ideally how laws should be written. I'd just rather someone go peacefully via doctor assistance than do it themselves. Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, in the ideal situation, you allow everyone who is able to consent mentally to be able to go through it completely normally. There would be other situations where you'd need, specialist analysis and stuff, but let's just say for people who are mentally able to consent, they would all be allowed to do so if they so wish. But there needs to be safeguards in place to make sure that people who are potentially vulnerable aren't taken advantage of by evil people. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that we should try and erect fences in the way that make sure that people end up having to commit suicide themselves. Can I pop on for a moment? I've got experience in healthcare about this kind of stuff. Yeah, of course you can, Lace. Hang on, I'll just get the Discord up. 1 second. I hadn't planned on having this discussion with everyone today. I didn't know this was going to be like a thing. Where's Lace? 1 second. Lace. There we go. I'll ring you up now. 1 second, everyone. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Logan.
Hello there. How are you?
Lovely day. I'm alright.
Good.
I'm still sticking with my horrible maudlin face about Palestine and all that jazz, but that's life. But anyway, talking on about the equally lovely and sunny conversation of assisted suicide. Oh God. Yet again, for people who ain't seen me on before and stuff like that, I've worked in healthcare. I've worked end of life care. I've done the whole thing. At this point, it's been about a decade. Yeah. Working in places. I've worked in dementia wards. So I had Alzheimer's, as you was talking about earlier. The legit thing that I think is important for some people to remember is talking about justification, non-justification, stuff like that. The context of especially here in Britain and America, and off in America, the context of this place was assisted suicide was done. It was there was stuff. It just wasn't described in the assisted suicide way. It was overwhelmingly done on people who were differently minded, people who had disabilities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The classic conversation that you got of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest of, oh, I'm not really stupid, I'm not really mad, I'm pretending to be mad.
Yeah.
Well, how many times have you heard of the other story where somebody's put in a mental asylum because you get it?
Yeah.
The reason that this subject, specifically talking in terms of like healthcare, is so difficult is because we actually come from a big background where it was okay to basically off your spouse. It was okay to off members of your family if you had the means and the capacity and the access to the person who can make the problem go away, basically.
Yeah.
And that's where these protections came in. People call it immoral. People call it, people call it immoral. People call it bad for the country. People call it logistically whatever. I don't feel it's that way. I feel that it's just the result. Like the legislation is a direct result of, oh God, that crazy bastard. I can't remember his name. He's the guy who came up with lobotomies. He basically. Yeah. No. He's this American bastard who was like
That doesn't narrow it down.
Oh yeah, okay. He was the guy he was good friends with the guy who came up with Kellogg's, and he was like a Mormon and stuff like that.
Oh. Okay.
And what he was doing, and he discovered it entirely he discovered the concept of lobotomy entirely by accident because he wanted to fix like epilepsy and seizures and stuff like that. And he then moved on very, very quickly to lesbianism. Egas Mons! That's his fucking prick's name. Yeah. And like as a result of like you could very easily say there's a thing to be put of there's a argument to be put that as a result of his actions against people with learning disabilities, against lesbian and gay people, against black people, as a direct result of that, like we exist in the circumstance now where assisted suicide is basically not seen as a service to be given to somebody who is reaching the end of their circumstance in a bad circumstance, and just is it okay to commit murder for this person?
Thank you, Nerney, for stopping by. I understand your point. I'll hopefully see you another time.
I'm very sorry, Nerney.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Look, whenever it gets deep like this, you always think to yourself, if anyone wants to dip out, like that's entirely fine.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Lots of love, dear.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of different things. A very interesting question I remember a bit earlier was just kind of the concept of relatively frivolous acts. Like a footballer who busted up their leg, they can't walk no more. Can't play anymore, I don't want to live. That's like something that we've seen a couple of times. Like, how do you feel about it?
If someone just decides they don't want to live anymore.
Doesn't, it's kind of like, first off, just decides they couldn't live anymore, but with more of the caveat of, if you're a footballer whose life is football,
right,
and you lose the capacity to play football, the damage that it would have on like a psychological level would be immense. And it's kind of like my happiness was directly linked to this one, that kind of thing. Like how would you feel about it?
I don't know that I've really considered that too strongly anyway. Like intrinsically my first instinct is to say, look, I'm not happy with it. But if it comes to the fact that would you rather have them do so medically safely or via their own means, which would be potentially very dangerous and injurious and they wouldn't necessarily be successful? I don't know. That's difficult, man. I don't really know.
I don't like having these conversations. I actually wound up having...
Why did you start it then?
It's directly my fault. It's all blame the chat queen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like honestly, it's actually kind of a sad thing. I remember this one person who was nearing the end of his life, and he was in the ward, and he was like on the death watch. He was supposed to be around him all the time and everything like that. And I remember I was sitting with him, and he was like having a lot of trouble sleeping. He was he had this thing. I can't quite remember the name of it, but imagine that you've got like a jittery leg, like a bouncing leg kind of thing, but it's so bad that you are like properly straining your calves, bouncing your leg all the time.
Restless leg syndrome.
Yeah, and he had that really bad, and then and I was like helping him with it, and then at one point he kind of just said, he just like ejaculated the words, "I don't want to be alive," and I was like, wow, that's and he was like fully in the throes of it, and 2 days later he passed away. But but it is deep dark stuff. That's wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that is me to bring down the conversation.
Okay, no. Thank you for your input, and we'll speak another time.
Speak another time.
Cool. Thank you. Bye. Well, there we go. Thank you for that input. That's This got darker than I was expecting tonight. This got this got really dark. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Lice. That was I think a useful ejaculation, to use your phrase. So thank you to Dog-Faced Pony Soldier for following, and thank you to Rider in the Storm for following. Welcome aboard. So we've got. Let's try and get through this. Come on.
Let kids figure it out. You talk about like regretting it or desisting or whatever. That's as a result, obviously, of letting themselves have time to kind of think this through. That's what puberty blockers are for.
No, desisting isn't regretting it and detransitioning. Detransitioning and desisting are two different things.
I recognize that,
it's not
but puberty
regret,
blockers
it's
could
realizing, oh, I'm not actually transgender at all.
Yeah, which is exactly. Thank you. I'm glad you said that. That is exactly the point of puberty blockers. The actual point is so that kids can go.
God, I think it's only natural that listening to Lauren Southern will lead to discussions of suicide. Fucking hell. Wow, we are in the assisted suicide gallows humour portion of the show. Fuck me. That should be a regular segment, shouldn't it? No, so you needn't feel remotely bad about laughing at that comment. That was funny. Lauren Southern's fucking trash.
Go on it who have gender dysphoria, and they are given time to decide. Maybe it will desist. If it does, great. That is ideal. Let's take them off the puberty blockers. Then they can go through regular puberty and continue living their regular ass life. Or we have people who have gender dysphoria, and the better studies have shown that the majority of them do go on to pursue treatment.
You keep ignoring this point. No, the majority do not go on. 88% of young
No, that's
young
using
boys
referrals,
desist.
and we already went over that.
And if puberty, what's wrong with referrals? That's what every single study uses.
Because if you actually control for when the children have gender dysphoria, the majority of them go on to transition.
If you are blocking the thing that allows children to make the decision on whether they are transgender or not, you actually aren't allowing them to go on and grow up and make the decision. If puberty
you are. Shut up.
is the deciding factor for most children.
It's not puberty. It's having that. No, it's having that window of time. It's not specifically puberty. And if it were
specifically puberty.
No, then why are kids able to go through puberty blockers and give it time? That's the point of going on puberty blockers, is to give it time to decide if they are gender dysphoric or not.
Okay, what is all right? Do you have any source showing that it is not puberty that is the main deciding point for kids when they decide they want to desist? Any source? Because I have sources showing it is puberty.
I'm not going to show you those sources, but I do have the sources, honest.
I don't know where you're getting this idea that it's not puberty.
Okay, I mean, it's probably a mix of, sure, fine. You know what? It probably is a mix of puberty and other factors as well.
Wait. No, okay. Where is it a mix? I only have studies showing that it is puberty.
So you're saying if they don't go through puberty, then they will continue to be transgender?
Okay, let me read
Yeah,
this.
that is the nonsense she's trying to pull now, which is the point I made earlier. She is saying people are being put on hormone blockers, which forces them to stay trans, which then means they're going to go on and be trans forever, and never realise that they're not trans at any point in their life, for some reason. Yeah, big brain stuff. This is high level Rubenesque ideas.
Study.
Okay.
Adolescents
And that's Rubin-esque, not Rubenesque, not the art term.
persisting
It's a
gender
different matter
dysphoria
entirely.
for sisters and those in whom the gender dysphoria remitted, desisters, indicated they considered the period between 10 and 13, i.e. puberty, to be the most crucial point. They reported that this is the period
Whoa,
they
whoa, whoa,
became
whoa,
increased-
whoa, 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 time out, home slice. Between 10 and 13 means the ages of 10 and 13, which is technically when puberty takes place. But puberty blockers don't stop you from going from age 10 to age 13. At no point in the thing did you read there did they say puberty. You added puberty in there. They said between the ages of 10 and 13, which I don't know if we've got anyone in the audience who took puberty blockers. Did it stop you from going from 10 to 13? Did you go 9 and then when you got to your 10th birthday you were just 14? I don't know that puberty blockers stops you going through that period of time in your life. I don't know if you just lose 3 years there. I'm not sure.
increasingly aware of the persistence or desistance of their childhood gender dysphoria. So this is actually the deciding point for whether someone is transgender as well. And you are taking away that deciding point from people
No, that's
by giving
No,
them
no, they're not. No, they're not. 10 and 13 still exist.
hormone therapy that only has bad data supporting it, and the only good data shows it has no positive effect.
Not true. You lied about it.
I would have to say that if you're really going to take that approach, I mean, like, I don't think that you can look at this here and then pick apart little data points that you're not too comfortable with, little like methodology things that you're not too happy with, and then try to.
These aren't little things, Hunter. These are not little things at all.
It's not little, no. The fact that trans people get to the age of 9 and just become 14 is amazing. It's like time travel. That's not a small deal, Hunter. Why are you denying that time travel is a big deal?
88% of young boys desisting, and the main point of
She keeps using the 88% even though it's wrong, and she knows it's wrong. It's been pointed out to her that it's wrong.
children,
Do you feel like we're
deciding
starting to
whether
go
they're
in a little
going
bit of
desist or
circles
not
here?
Being puberty is not a small. Well, to accuse it of being a small thing is just ridiculous. You're
Because
forcing people to have gender dysphoria for longer.
No,
that
we're
could
not
potentially
forcing people to have
disappear.
gender dysphoria at all. People, at the point of going on puberty blockers is to give them time to decide if it's going to desist or if they are going to pursue treatment. Now, during that time,
Hunter.
hold on, during that time, during 10, 11, or 12, 13, yes, it can become more clear, but that is whether they're on puberty blockers or not. Again, I'm going to keep on saying this because it's the medical consensus. The point of puberty blockers is to pause puberty to give the child time to figure it out. If they desist, then they can go off the puberty blockers. Your assertion that if they go on puberty blockers, it's going to cause them to continue being trans is false. It's not true. And the entire
I didn't say
the
it's
entire
gonna cause them
purpose
to
of the
continue.
No, but that is the crux of your argument. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense why you would bring it up. If your point isn't that, then it doesn't make any fucking sense.
medication is to
It's
put
going
a pause
They're
there.
going to continue having dysphoria and not make a decision on whether to desist or not. And desistance is the most effective treatment we have for dysphoria.
Yeah, just stop being trans. Yes, just stop being trans. It's her solution to this problem. Just don't be trans. Which is, I think, medically speaking, the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Stop it, Lauren. You're a bad person.
Right
But
now.
we can't
Not
force
having
people
it,
to
that is an
desist.
awesome solution.
Hold on, listen. I would agree.
No,
of
but the
course,
majority
if
will.
people aren't transgender, if people aren't choose not whatever desistance, whatever, you can't make people desist. We have to work within what we're able to do,
No, you
which
can't,
is
but the majority
alleviating
will.
gender
We need to
incongruence
allow
and
them
gender
to do
dysphoria.
that.
Even if that's true, which it isn't, your number is wrong. You're lying. That still leaves other people who aren't in the majority. What do we do with those people, Lauren? Like, even if you concede her points, she's still wrong, which is almost impressive that she's that wrong. That even when you concede her points, she's still incorrect.
no. But if that alleviation causes the majority of people to continue to suffer, to continue to have dysphoria, and to
But it doesn't. It doesn't in any way. You haven't shown that. That's nonsense.
desist later or not desist at all because they never went through puberty.
Not desist at all. So she literally is saying, if you put them on on puberty blockers, they'll just stay trans forever. They'll just stay trans forever and ever. They'll just not be not trans again. They just won't go back to realizing that they're cis, which is impressive. By which I mean really dumb. Anyway, thank you, Wayward Historian, for gifting a sub to Dogface Pony Soldier, which is I think I'm right in saying a meme from Lord Biden, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, thank you, Chad.
That is a horrible solution, Hunter.
All right. Well, basically what I've learned from this conversation is the data doesn't have methodology that you like, so you can pretty much ignore it. You talk about caring a lot about trans people, but then you kind of seem to be against what the medical consensus seems to suggest is the treatment.
It's not the medical consensus.
Do you have any, like...
Yeah, 255, functionally there is no difference, but the point is, Lauren's wrong. That doesn't happen to people. Like, if you were cis, you'd realise you were cis. Like, that's the point. I'm using, like, the hypothetical nonsense scenario. But yeah, functionally, if that did happen, there would be no real functional difference between being actually trans and just, like, having the delusion that you're a trans person in that case. But that doesn't happen anyway, so it's sort of, like I say, just a thought experiment that I was doing to mock Lauren's nonsense. But yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts here?
Yeah, if methodology doesn't matter, I can go and ask my Twitter followers if they think trans people will be cured if we just killed them, and if they all say yes, then that's a study and you can't argue with it.
What the fuck? Interesting that's where her mind went to. That's the question she was going to ask. Not, shall we do puberty blockers or not? Shall we kill trans people? Wow. That's, I think what we like to call a Freudian slip. Dear Lauren.
Methodology
no,
matters.
I did not say. Hold on, I did not say methodology doesn't matter at all. That is, I never once said that. I said that when it comes to social sciences, there are complications there, and
she said she should go on to if she went onto Twitter and asked her audience whether they should kill all trans people as like a hypothetical poll or whatever. Which the fact that was the example she gave, I think, is rather telling as to how she views trans people. Is all I'm saying. Yeah.
Many, countless different studies, some being meta-analyses, some being long-term systematic reviews, some being cohorts and whatever, all finding this treatment to be effective for trans people right now. Seems to be the answer. But I appreciate you coming on here, Lauren. Really good.
Can I make one last statement?
I don't appreciate that she came on here. I just don't. Fuck her.
Sure, yeah, if you want to go ahead and close off, I'm not going to respond to anything here, though.
Okay, that's fine.
Well,
I did enjoy talking to you. I enjoyed going through this stuff. I still have a lot of questions. I think that this is a highly complex disorder that requires a lot more data on it. I hope that people are able to research it more. Having a disorder doesn't make you worth less at all. It just means you're struggling with something, and we as a society need to accept that and work through it.
Yes, you really care. You've shown you really care, Lauren. What a dishonest bastard.
And, you know, I think that if most children are desisting, that is clearly the more positive route to lean to, rather than experimental hormone therapy, which has poor data behind it. So I'm going to lean towards...
It's not poor data, you're just lying to yourself. And lying to everyone else, which is really dishonest.
You know, just being a bit careful. Having a bit...
being a bit careful.
Towards radical solutions with poor data. And
radical solutions that have been in operation since the 1980s. Radical experimental medicine that we know a lot about. It's fine.
Desisting, which seems to be the best solution we have at the moment.
It's not a solution. Lauren, that isn't a solution. Just saying, like, okay, let's do the thing, right? Everyone in society just say, I don't want to have cancer. That's the best way, because most people won't instantly get cancer. right? But some will. So what do we do with the ones that do get cancer, Lauren? Desisting isn't a fucking option. Desisting isn't anything. You're a fucking idiot. I need to just calm.
And until it is fully known, post-puberty or adulthood, I always want to lean towards the most positive outcomes for people, and that is not...
No, you don't. No, you don't. You're a liar.
...struggling with transgenderism and body dysmorphia in the first place.
Body dysmorphia? Considering she just said body dysmorphia, I don't think she's necessarily an expert on this. Yeah, there are some palate cleansers, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate you coming on here. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, Hunter.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Fuck you.
All right. Good conversation.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No. Just no. As always, we learnt nothing from this discussion. We already knew Lauren Southern was a bigoted piece of shit. So that's not a new piece of information. It's just been reiterated for us all. So, yeah. What's it? Oh, Bob Newhart, stop it. Okay. I'm with you. A palate cleanser Seal. But that's Kiss from a Rose by Seal. You people. You fucking people. Yeah, I said it. You people. Anyway, Lauren Southern's garbage. I think that's definitely true. Hunter Avallone could have been better in this, but wasn't like desperately bad. I thought he was a lot better than fucking Xander Hall anyway.